Hello, this is the President. Hello, this is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. You can check us out on TalkStreamLive.com as well. TalkStreamLive.com, the program Clyde Lewis. Just click on the icon there at TalkStreamLive.com. You can listen to all 3 hours of the program if you listen online. These are the radio stations that play all 3 hours. And links to where you can listen. Also, there are listen lines available on the telephone, 701-801-3900. That's 701-801-3900. Or we have podcasts by phone, 701-719-9949. At 701-719-9949. Tonight's show is a mixed bag of synchronicity, and I'll tell you why. My producer, Ron, and I were in the office 2 or 3 days ago, and we were kind of talking amongst ourselves about something that we thought was odd. And it had everything to do with Antarctica. And it's kind of coincidental also that tonight we're talking about the cold reaches of the South Pole, when outside in the Portland area where we're broadcasting, it's cold and we've had snow and people are in a panic and roads are backed up. So I guess it's appropriate if you're stuck in the snow in the Portland, Oregon area, if you're stuck in the snow in Seattle, the whole Northwest was blanketed in snow. And so this Antarctic discussion will probably make you feel a little bit colder. Maybe not. Yeah, I just think it's fascinating. Some of the things that have been happening back in 2001. I think, was it 2001 or maybe, there have been times I've talked about Antarctica many times I've talked about it regarding the Nazi bases. There are stories of Nazi bases in a place called New Schwabenland. And I don't know how real those stories are, but they certainly are interesting. They're an interesting part of history if you read. People like Joseph Farrell and others write books about the Nazi bases in Antarctica. And there was a movie, Iron Sky, that kind of touches on that. I think there's going to be an Iron Sky 2 where they're going to be under the earth at some base in Antarctica. But back in 2001, just months before Ground Zero was temporarily taken off the air nationally because of the 9/11 attacks, we were looking into reports of some strange activity happening in Antarctica. And there were rumors on the internet and elsewhere that a satellite had captured what appeared to be some sort of structure or machine embedded in the ice there. Now, the United States military immediately moved to censor the reports, and the mainstream news media dutifully complied by censoring many of them. Europe was also critical about the American cover-up, as the European Parliament's French president, Nicole Fontaine, said that if it's something the U.S. military has constructed down there, then they're violating the International Antarctic Treaty. Now, Antarctica is managed by the ATS, which is the highly successful Antarctic Treaty System, which is a series of international agreements that has preserved that area of the world, the southern continent, as a non-militarized, strictly scientific global commons. And this has been that way for several decades, in spite of the numerous territorial claims and major powers involved with Antarctica. It's almost as if Antarctica is another planet. They have made claims of certain areas there. It's about the size of the United States. So we have this I guess you could call it rarely explored area. Not very many people go there. Only a few scientists are there. And so if there's anything military that's happening there, that would be in violation of protocol. You can't put a strategic weapon there. That'd be in violation of protocol. You can't put an airbase there. That would be in strict violation of strategic protocols. And, you can have military vehicles there. You just can't have weapons. And you just can't be engaging in some strategic plan to attack, because that would be in violation of the Antarctic Treaty System. Now, when this satellite happened to pick up on this machine, or whatever it was embedded in the ice, European Parliament had speculated that whatever was detected by the satellite could have been an artifact that's at least 12,000 years old, which it's estimated how long the ice has covered Antarctica, about 12,000 years. And that would make it the oldest man-made structure on the planet, if, in fact, that structure is still there. Now, despite the news blackout, reports are, if you look and do research on Antarctica and the strangeness that happens there are reports that were surfacing that there was this secretive excavation project that had commenced on the heels of this discovery, and then some European countries formally protested the excavation, not the evacuation, but the excavation that was being carried out by the U.S. military. The news had broke later of a mysterious medical emergency that forced an evacuation of unnamed personnel during the depths of the Antarctic winter. It was the first event of its kind during the dangerous South Pole winter season. So they were down there with this excavation of whatever it was, and then there was a mysterious medical emergency. Everybody had to be airlifted, and then it was dangerous because it was the winter season, and so it was reported that after the excavation took place, and after they were immediately brought out of Antarctica, there was this earthquake there. There was this unusual earthquake, and seismologists located the earthquake at the epicenter where that buried structure was. It was in East Antarctica. And still, the military would not make any comment about what was there. Now, there were reports that several magnetic anomalies in the form of electric vortices were moving around near a Russian base located at Vostok. Now, the story didn't gain much interest and was eventually reduced to tabloid status because theories about an alien structure were capturing the imaginations of those who questioned what was really going on there. So, while much is not known about Antarctica, there have always been speculative theories about it. Everything from hollow earth to Nazis to holes opening up, strange vortices, magnetic anomalies, sightings of Planet X, sightings of double suns, triple suns. And, of course, there's the recent conspiracy psyop about the flat Earth that has put the existence of the entire South Pole into question. The flat Earth model that they proposed, it's simple. They say that Antarctica is just a gigantic ice wall extending the circumference of the Earth, holding in the oceans like a giant bowl. And it's interesting because when you look at the ice shelf or the ice wall, it's bigger than maybe 3 or 4 World Trade Centers high. the new World Trade Center, the one World Trade Center. It's about 3 or 4 or 5, and maybe more of those. If you put them on top of each other, that's how high the ice shelf is in Antarctica. About 3 to 4, I think 3 to 4 miles, maybe. Maybe it's more than that. It's huge, though. I mean, you have this towering around you, and it appears that it's going the full circumference of the Earth, and that's why a lot of people believe that that's why the Earth is flat, is that Antarctica is basically an ice sheet that goes around the entire planet that holds us in, that holds the water in and holds everything else in. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that still believe in the flat Earth. And as strange as this concept sounds at first, it is a fact that if you set a bearing due south from anywhere on Earth, inevitably, at or before 78 degrees southern latitude, you're going to see that enormous ice wall. It's going to be about, it's going to start at about 100, 200 feet in the air. It'll be extending east and west, and so it appears that it runs the entire circumference of the globe. But I've never been to Antarctica, and I would be surprised if any of the flat Earth theorists providing this model have been there either. I mean, sensory observations can fool almost anyone, and flat Earth ideas are not part of a conspiracy, but the PSYOP is part of a conspiracy, I believe. The PSYOP of the flat Earth conspiracy is designed to create cognitive dissonance and is a major distraction from the truth about the poles, especially the South Pole. And what I mean by this is that while we're arguing over whether or not Antarctica is just a huge sheet of ice surrounding the planet, holding the continents and the water together, there are some things happening south of us, way down south of us at the South Pole, that need to be examined and need to be looked into. And there have been a number of lectures, a number of things printed and posted, and a lot of speculation. And tonight I want to talk about some of these things because I know that the mainstream media won't talk about them. I mean, they covered up the structure that was found there in 2001. Even when Europe was talking about it, they tried to cover up. The European Parliament was very eager to find out what was there, because if there was anything military, they'd be in violation of treaties. So there was nothing military there that we knew of. So what was there back in 2001 is anyone's guess. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. I'm Clyde Lewis, and you're listening to Ground Zero. I'm Clyde Lewis, and you're listening to Ground Zero. So when things like Antarctica come up, which they don't usually in casual conversation, but lately a lot of things have been coming up, news stories about Antarctica that really don't seem to fit into anyone's box. And that's the problem, is that, when you're going through the stories of the day, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, you see a pattern. You see a pattern of stories about Antarctica. You see unexpected trips to Antarctica from dignitaries. You hear of possible pyramids in Antarctica. You reminisce about all the old stories that you've talked about. I mean, we've talked about Admiral Byrd. We've talked about the Nazis, and whether or not they have bases there. See, there are all these explanations, and they can all be thrown around as ideas, and I kind of want to do that tonight because I want to know what the hell's going on in Antarctica. There was a statement that was made by Graham Hancock. He was an author and researcher. He's still around. In fact, we were trying to get him to come on the show tonight, but he once said that the world is becoming dissatisfied with simple answers to life's mysteries. He stated that there is a feeling that all over the world, people have become dissatisfied with the sterile, dry, and frankly meaningless answers to the great mysteries of life that are given by science and by history. More and more people, and I would say perhaps it runs into hundreds of millions around the world, are increasingly aware there are much more mysterious species than we give ourselves credit for, and that there are many more secrets and mysteries in our past than we are prepared to accept at the moment. And this is where it gets interesting. This is where it gets weird. In the first 2 weeks of this year, Kremlin media outlets reported that a Russian naval expedition had arrived in Antarctica as the country's first Antarctic mission organized by the Ministry of Defense in 30 years. Now, despite garnering little outside media attention, the expedition is suggestive of an important emerging trend in Moscow's strategic vision with significant geopolitical risks. They are now acquiring a steadily building interest in Antarctica for strategic and economic purposes. But they can't be strategic because of the treaty. Now, Russian interest on the global stage is, once again, all par for the course because it's very characteristic of Vladimir Putin's ambitious foreign policy. I mean, not only does he want to move through Europe and basically swallow up for his empire all the things he can, he wants to get down to the South Pole and try to establish some footing there. This is a subtle yet strategic important policy. And it's a shift where they're moving towards gaining a stronghold in Antarctica. It's a particular interest because, well, in context, you're seeing all of this relatively non-political attitudes about the South Pole, and then you have Russia coming and saying, well, it's all going to be political. It's all going to be about strategies. It has nothing to do with peace. It's about setting up a base of operations. They already have a base down there, but they want a military base of operations that uses planes and guns and all kinds of other tests. But see, I don't know if they can handle, and maybe they can because they're used to the cold, the harsh environmental conditions down there. I know that most people can't. There may be some military or economic benefits or something that might be pursued regardless of whether or not they can be sidelined by the feasibility of getting there, the high costs, the buy-in costs, everything that goes with it. There are, in fact, from what I understand, there are indeed 7 countries that have maintained territorial claims to sections of Antarctica, and in turn, there seems to be this potential strategic and economic benefit that Russia is looking for. Because Russia is not one of the countries, one of the 7 countries that maintain a territorial claim there. They want a territorial claim there now for some reason. This is unprecedented. They've let it go for this long, and now all of a sudden they're saying, hey, count us in. We want a part of this real estate down here. Now, why? Why is this all of a sudden important? Where they say, well, it's a strategy thing. They want to set up a base. Well, they can't because they don't have the treaty. Why are they part of the treaty? I don't know if they're part of the treaty. I just know that the treaty won't allow anything military to go on down there that we know of. But, of course, Moscow has consistently, they've left the door wide open for an Antarctic land grab by refueling all the claims they have of, well, maintaining the right to spontaneously claim the entire continent at any point in the future. So they could go in and conquer it if they wanted to. But it's just weird that all of a sudden Russia says, we want Antarctica. I mean, are they going to take it bit by bit, like over a long period of time? Or are they going to go in and declare war there? Or what is so important now about Antarctica? And it's not just the Russians that are there staking a claim. It's not just the Russians that are talking about possibly strategic and military movements in Antarctica. We've had a lot of, well, prominent individuals going out to Antarctica for visits, unannounced visits. And some, they're announced, but the unannounced are the ones that have me intrigued. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. This hour of the Ground Zero podcast is brought to you by Angioprim. Feeling sluggish? Get an energy boost with Angioprim, the original liquid oral chelation. Go to angioprim.com.
Maybe there was another reason that the President of the United States was taking a multi-million-dollar vacay. Maybe it had nothing to do with climate change. The war with China is fast approaching, but 5 Chinese Navy warships just happened to be off the coast. For the first time ever, an unprecedented move by the Chinese Navy.
And what we can only conclude is one of the most bizarre reports ever circulated, that the global leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill of Moscow, arrived in Antarctica earlier today, where he joined up with the vast Federation Naval Armada transporting from Saudi Arabia the mysterious Ark of Gabriel, entrusted to Russia's care at the custodian of the 2 holy mosques, and performed an ancient ritual over it, reading from a secret text given to him by Pope Francis just days prior in Cuba, when these leaders of Christianity's 2 top sects met for the first time in nearly 1,000 years.
Nothing like this has happened since the 1054 AD schism that separated Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism. Why an urgent meeting between these leaders was called after a millennium of never meeting with one another is a mystery. There was another country, another regime, that visited Antarctica just before a Great World War started. The Nazis led an expedition of 33 members, including scientists, to Antarctica. The regime was clearly looking for something in Antarctica. But what was it? What were they there for?
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. Just what is happening to the South Pole? Something bizarre is going on, and the media will not report it. Something quite remarkable has to be happening there. With Russian interest in the area now, the meeting of the minds, of course, the Russian, not only military, but the Russian religion, the Orthodox Church. The Patriarch met with Pope Francis, then went off to Antarctica, saying that he was just going to go visit the penguins. He did more than that. He did rituals and blessings, and no one knows why. It's a harsh environment, and when people go there, things happen to them. We have people there all the time. We don't think about it, but they're there doing investigations. And of course, the door has always been open for anyone to go there that wishes to go there. But there's a big but. There is a treaty. There are protocols. There are plenty of endeavors by many countries to set up shop there for investigations into just what is there under the ice. And the idea that the Russian Navy has moved there, the idea that the Russian Patriarch has met there, is a clear sign that interest in the Antarctic has increased for some odd reason. And the bigger question is, why are we seeing an increased interest in Antarctica? Now, while the Russians are making inroads to Antarctic discovery, there have been some strange actions being carried out by our government, and it makes you question if a major discovery has been made there and that every country with a territorial interest has sent a representative there to witness it and assess the situation. On February 18, 2016, Russian Patriarch Kirill visited a Russian outpost in Antarctica, reportedly to see penguins, he said. And just over a month later, on March 23rd, President Obama visited this southern Argentine resort of Bariloche, and it is believed that he went to Antarctica as well. He hid out in Bariloche, though, they say, which was, of course, the original secret hideaway of Nazi war criminals after World War II. Secret files, if you go back in history, you have secret files that have revealed that An estimated 9,000 Nazis, including Holocaust mastermind Adolf Eichmann and Auschwitz Dr. Joseph Mengele, fled to South America in the aftermath of the Second World War. Most, perhaps as many as 5,000, they went to Argentina. Between 1,500 and 2,000 are thought to have made it to Brazil. About 500 to 1,000 ended up in Chile. And there were a few that were peppered over Paraguay and Uruguay. So the whole area there was infested with Nazis after the war. Now, all of these numbers don't include those who took off to the Middle East. But if you look at the estimates as to how many Nazis fled to South America, it's varied from 5,000 to 300,000 Nazis escaped to Bariloche, Chile, Brazil, Antarctica. See, that's where it gets a little murky. That's where it gets a little mythological, well, according to history. One theory is that Martin Bormann, who was allegedly confirmed dead, and other top Nazis, and it's even rumored that Hitler himself escaped to South America, and then they went on to a secret base in Antarctica, where they had top scientists continue to work on the wonder weapons, which included the flying saucers. I always love good German Nazi flying saucer stories, and that, of course, is one of the most classic one, is New Schwabenland, where they worked on Nazi flying saucers down there. The technology, of course, was allegedly given to them through occult means. The Vril, of course. We kind of touched on that last night. And there are some that even say that the technology was actually discovered from a spaceship crash in Poland before World War II began. So that's the mystery of Antarctica with regard to the Nazis. Well, here's the deal. If you look at some of these secret societies, some of these groups that spun off of Nazism, you would conclude, or you would also include, one of comes to mind, Skull and Bones, because of course the Totenkopf, the Skull and Bones, was a group, and John Kerry, who just happens to be a bonesman, went to Antarctica on November 9th, just after the election. Now, why would John Kerry, Secretary of State John Kerry, why would he go to Antarctica? I mean, it was said that he was observing thawing conditions brought on by climate change. However, it doesn't make sense that he planned to go there at a critical time during the election. And then, after that, there was a secret trip that was made to Antarctica by Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin. Now, Aldrin went there because, well, there are a number of reasons why I heard he went there. He went there because it was on his bucket list, for one thing. That's what I had heard. He wanted to go to Antarctica. He said that the conditions, he figured the conditions in Antarctica are the same as conditions on Mars. And he has had this obsession with Mars. In fact, when he went to Antarctica, he wore a T-shirt that said, "Get your ass to Mars" on it. He's been wearing these T-shirts that say "Get your ass to Mars" on it because he's thinking that, he wants to encourage the government to get people out to Mars. So he goes out to Antarctica, and no one can figure out why he went to Antarctica, but he did. And then he had to be evacuated from the area because he felt ill. Now, his condition was diagnosed as altitude sickness because apparently his lungs were filling up with mucus and he couldn't breathe. He had a low oxygen level. What's interesting is that back in, 2014, Prince Harry, along with some military friends of his, all went to Antarctica as well. And when they got there, they all got sick. They all fell ill. They all had the same problem. They said it was altitude sickness. But they all got sick. Their lungs filled with whatever, and they couldn't breathe. So Buzz Aldrin gets taken to Christchurch, New Zealand. There he's in a hospital. He's still recovering. I've been following his Twitter account since then. But what's interesting about the whole, there's Obama and Kerry. One of the CIA guys showed up there. Prince Harry's been there. The Russians are there. They want to go. It's just so weird that we have a Russian religious figure, a U.S. Secretary of State, a president, and an astronaut all going to Antarctica. Now, either this is a punchline for a very bad joke or something strange is going on, and what adds to the mystery is an alleged ominous tweet that was sent by Buzz Aldrin before he got sick. Now, the tweet was a picture of what appears to be this pyramid structure or a very geometrically sound tetrahedral mountain, and the words, "We're all in danger, it is evil itself." Now, the tweet was allegedly moved off the official Buzz Aldrin Twitter account. Alleged snapshots were taken of the tweet. It's been going viral on the internet right now. However, there is no timestamp on the post, and it appears to be captured at low resolution, so I lean towards that being a hoax. And I don't know if anybody else has revealed that it's a hoax, but I think it is. I think that they just did that because they make it appear that the picture was taken by Aldrin, and what we saw was the pyramid that they allegedly found. Well, actually, it was originally spotted on an aerial photo from Google Earth. And it's very curious. It adds to the speculation that there may have been something down there that lived there thousands of years ago. But it's a pyramid photo from Google Earth. It's located not far from the United Kingdom's Princess Elizabeth Station, which, of course, is their area there in Antarctica. And it's kind of, I think, coincidental that I just saw an episode of Ancient Aliens. It aired on the History Channel. It reported that pyramids were recently discovered in Antarctica. 2 of the pyramids were located about 10 miles inland from where you first enter in there at Antarctica, 10 miles inland. And then while one pyramid was very close to the shore, it was also reported that what they found near the pyramid was bee pollen and bacteria. It was locked in the ancient ice around the pyramid. Now, what would bee pollen be doing in Antarctica, unless, of course, thousands of years ago, Antarctica wasn't a cold, ice-shelved continent? That maybe there was civilization there, maybe there was, it was warmer there. Some people even think that maybe Antarctica was Atlantis. I've heard those stories before. So there are plenty of fringe theories out there right now as to what is going on. One is hopeful that there will be an announcement of possible ancient civilizations that lived in the South Pole, or undeniable proof of alien bases that have been speculated about for decades. There are also other theories, of course, the secret Nazi bases that we covered. The idea that maybe finding these Nazi bases will reveal that they've been plotting to resurrect the Third Reich from a base in Antarctica. While that's a little crazy thinking, obviously many of the Nazis the original Nazis that have established this have died, but if you go back to the time of Byrd, Operation High Jump, that was carried out to destroy so-called Nazi presence in Antarctica. The stories of Admiral Richard Byrd. 4,000 military troops from the U.S., Britain, and Australia invaded Antarctica, but then they were told to go away. And there's stories of flying saucers and all kinds of other weird weapons down there. So maybe the Nazis were there for a while. Maybe they escaped. Who knows? 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. What's going on in Antarctica? We'll be back. Is all of the people, all of the personnel that went to Antarctica, they did it in sequence. Well, first the Russians went to Antarctica, and that's been several years in the making. They've gone to Antarctica. They continue to focus on Antarctica. They worry that maybe Vladimir Putin wants to, his character is basically go in and conquer Antarctica. And I don't think so. I don't think they have the ability to do it. But, there's still that fear because we still have this belief in a Russian conspiracy that wants to, somehow claim Antarctica for its own. They maybe, they're not supposed to do anything military there. Sure, they can do military things in Greenland. I've heard that, for example, there's Project Iceworm or Operation Iceworm. There was also a group of Russian soldiers that were training, in the snows of the Arctic Circle. But no, you can't do anything at the South Pole. You can't do anything in Antarctica. There's an Antarctica treaty that if it gets violated, it could create all kinds of problems. So I don't think Russia's there to taunt. But we've got China who has interest. We have Argentina having interest. Chile has interest. England has interest. All of these people have interest. Now, I do not think the Queen has been to Antarctica, nor Prince Philip, but I know that Prince Harry and some military buddies of his went to Antarctica. President Obama went to Antarctica after a trip to Bariloche, which is right there between Argentina and Chile. So he went to Bariloche. That's where the Nazis all hung out. And then, of course, they went on their secret trips to Antarctica and maybe the base of New Schwabenland or whatever, if you believe the histories that the Nazis went underground there. So he went there and met. One of the CIA officials went simultaneously to Antarctica. John Kerry went to Antarctica. The Russian Patriarch, the head of the Russian Orthodox Catholic faith, after meeting with Pope Francis. Now, Pope Francis, from what I understand, has not gone to Antarctica. He's probably been there before because, of course, he's Argentinian. And, of course, the closest I ever got to Antarctica was Bariloche. And the further south you get, you start seeing the ice shelves and you start seeing penguins. But Bariloche is beautiful. It's like a European area because of the Andes Mountains. It's a beautiful place. And they got great chocolate there, too. Wonderful chocolate. And it seems more Americanized than Buenos Aires, but it's an amazing place. President, a CIA official, you have the Russian armies, and you have an astronaut going to Antarctica, and it's like in sequence. And then the astronaut, Buzz Aldrin, gets sick, and they evacuate him out of there, and they put him up in Christchurch, New Zealand. So it gets a little weird here. It doesn't seem to. It just seems to be peculiar that all of these officials are going there. And I'm sure that if you flag Antarctica, then quite possibly you'll start seeing some of these stories evolve, and you can follow the dots, connect the dots, and maybe you can figure out just what is going on there. Because back in 2001, the European Parliament was all over the United States saying, what is down there? What is that gadget that we picked up on? Was it a military thing? Was it a machine? An excavation situation happened. The United States military was involved in this. The European Parliament said, what the hell's going on here? If that's a military thing, you guys are in big trouble. Then, of course, there's the report of these so-called pyramids that have been found there. And I've been noticing there have been a lot of searches on the internet for whether or not it's possible to have mountains that look like geometrically sound tetrahedrons. And there are mountains out there that look like that, but it just seems too odd and how it looks too precise. The pyramid structures of the pyramidic mountains that are there. So is this an indication of some ancient civilization? Are they about to announce that some ancient civilization lived in Antarctica? Or maybe there's some alien base there? Or is there something else happening? I've heard theories about CERN, something happening with CERN, and maybe even EMP tests going on down there. We'll explore that coming up on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
Spinning complacently in the darkness, covered and blinded by a blanket of little lives, false security has lulled the madness of this world into a slumber. Wake up, an eye is upon you, staring straight down and keenly through, seeing all that you are and everything that you can never be. Yes, An eye is upon you, an eye ready to blink. So face forward, with arms wide open and mind reeling. Your future has arrived. Are you ready to go?
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers you call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Check us out on TalkStream Live. TalkStreamLive.com has a list of radio stations that air the entire program online. You can click there and listen to all the shows in their entirety. Or you can call 701-801-3900. That's 701-801-3900 or 701-719-9949. Now, that's podcast by phone where you can hear 5 of the shows that are sitting there on the telephone for you. You don't have to waste your data. Just use the unlimited minutes on your telephone because that's how you call. Just the unlimited minutes apply. That's just about it, really. Or you can listen to us by going to soundcloud.com/Ground Zero Media. Now, tonight is, it's one of those nights where, I guess it's like you take out the dartboard and you throw the dart at the board and it lands somewhere and you're like going, damn, how coincidental is this? Ron Patton, my producer, and myself, had been talking just a couple days ago, and all of a sudden, Antarctica came up in conversation. There was some sort of a huge 70-mile trench that was found in Antarctica, and I said, here's another Antarctica story. And while I didn't see anything sinister in the story, I just posted on Facebook thinking, this is just something that just stuck out. All of a sudden, that was the straw that broke the camel's back right there. Because here I was seeing all these stories about Antarctica, and it reminded me of back in 2001 when Ground Zero was doing its national program just before 9/11. And we were looking into something that happened in Antarctica where they reported that something that looked like a machine or some strange artifact was seen, buried in the ice there in Antarctica. And there were rumors on the internet and elsewhere that this satellite had captured this alien artifact. It's a structure, a machine. I don't know what it was. It was embedded in the ice. You could see it. They showed it to everybody on the internet. And then all of a sudden the story kind of like faded out. Because the military had moved to just gag the entire story. They were going to censor the entire story. And so the mainstream media cooperated by killing the story, although, it had made the rounds in Science and made the rounds National Geographic, made the rounds in some of the more prominent, quote-unquote, scientific mainstream websites. Well, Europe got into the act. They were very critical about what the Americans were covering up. The European Parliament was speaking up, saying that if it's something that the U.S. military has constructed down there, then they are violating the International Antarctic Treaty. Now, Antarctica is kind of a strange place, more so than it's mysterious, but it has this Antarctic Treaty System, which is, there are a number, like 7 countries that have gone into international agreements that has basically preserved the area there in the South Pole. They say no military activity whatsoever. It's a non-militarization treaty. It's all about strict scientific study there. It's a global commons for several years now. It's been there in spite of the numerous territorial claims and major powers involved. It's managed to keep itself peaceful. So it would be a violation of protocol to have something there that's a weapon, a strategic weapon. And so the European Parliament was shaking their heads going, what the hell is this thing? We don't know what it is. And then they commented, well, whatever it is, if it's not military, then it has to be 12,000 years old because it was buried in the ice. And they estimate that's how long, maybe 13,000 years that the ice has been there in Antarctica. And so that would have made it the most, pretty much the oldest man-made structure on the planet, if that's what it was. Well, despite the news blackout and the gag orders and people not talking about it, there were a lot of reports that were still coming out that a secretive excavation project had commenced on the heels of the discovery, and there were a lot of European countries that were protesting the excavation of whatever it was. And then, while this was happening, there was a mysterious medical emergency where they had to evacuate a lot of the personnel because here it was, the middle of the Arctic winter, and people were dying. They were getting sick. They always say it's altitude sickness. So, to take something out of the ground or try to remove it from the ice in the middle of the South Pole winter was nuts, but the military resisted making any comment about what was going on. And then came these stories about magnetic anomalies in the form of electric vortices moving around near the Russian base at Vostok. But eventually, people started talking aliens again, saying, hey, maybe aliens, maybe something else. And, of course, a lot of this Antarctica talk, too, a lot of people say the reason why they're talking about Antarctica is because of the flat Earth thing. There are many people out there that believe the Earth's still flat, and, I've been asked many times to talk about it. I only did a show about it once, but I didn't talk about flat Earth. I talked about the geoidal Earth, where the Earth isn't necessarily round, but it's not flat. It's kind of pear-shaped, or it's shaped like a lopsided, deflated basketball. And it kind of is, because it's kind of a tapered, round, pear-shaped, torsion-shaped kind of thing. And that's why whenever I see the Earth looking, circular, perfect, I kind of shake my head and go, I don't think it's that perfect. But then they say, well, you have to get out farther to figure out that it's kind of a lopsided lump of planet out there. But that's a theory. Geoidal Earth has always been an interesting thought, more so than flat Earth. But of course, the flat Earth model believes that Antarctica is like this gigantic ice wall that extends the circumference of the Earth and is just holding the oceans and the continents together. And so that's why we can't walk off the flat Earth, is because we got this ice sheet that's keeping us from falling off. That's what it is. It's a block. And people say if they go there and you see the ice sheet, it's huge, and it looks like it extends the entire circumference of the Earth. It's about 78 degrees south. You start seeing this ice sheet. And I know people want to, they want to talk about flat Earth, and everybody thinks it's a conspiracy theory, but it's not. It's a psyop. It's a psyop. That's the conspiracy behind flat Earth. They want to see just how far they can push this type of theorizing so they can reveal that people who buy into this are conspiracy theorists that are just nuts. And they've been doing this a lot with a lot of stories. They're doing this now. They're baiting people with a lot of fake history, a lot of fake news. They're baiting people, and they're hoping that, people like me and others will take the bait, and they want to weed out those who they say are fringe conspiracy theorists that make up stories or basically push stories that aren't true. So the psyops that they create, like flat Earth and everything else that they want to create, it creates cognitive dissonance, and it's a major distraction from the truth about what is happening at the South Pole. And I think that what is interesting is how there's been no media examination of what's been happening in Antarctica from 2001 when the Russians... No, actually, it wasn't 2000. It was this year, actually. 2016, the Russians wanted to set up camp there again. They wanted to have a strategic place there. And they're saying, well, you got to be part of the treaty. We got about 9 countries that are 7 to 9 countries that are claiming Antarctica. And you guys want to jump in at the last minute? What's so important now? Well, by a number of high-profile people like Russian Patriarch Kirill, head of the Orthodox Church in Russia, Patriarch Kirill went. Barack Obama went to Bariloche, Argentina, and then it's said that he left Argentina to go visit Antarctica in a secret meeting. And we had reported before the Obama visit that China built a giant space exploration base in Patagonia, Argentina. That's southern Argentina. You know, it's near Antarctica. Well, Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill came to Antarctica to visit the only permanent church in the South Pole. And he was there to talk with scientists at the Russian Polar Station. And, of course, to congregate with penguins, they say. It's kind of a... Yeah, he's there to congregate with penguins. He wants to... But there's a church there called the Holy Trinity Church. It was built in the early 2000s and is the only permanent place of worship there in the Antarctic. And what it was part of Kirill's Latin American trip. He basically, he met with the Pope, and he went to Havana to meet with Pope Francis, and then from there he went to Argentina, and he went to Australia, and then he went New Zealand, and then he just decided he wanted to go to Antarctica. Now you wonder if it was just a flight of fancy, but then James Clapper, the chief intelligence officer and advisor to Barack Obama, of course, Clapper oversees 16 agencies within the U.S. intelligence community, including the CIA and the NSA. Clapper also went to Antarctica simultaneously when Obama did, basically. He didn't even know it. And then John Kerry went to Antarctica just a day after the election. Why would he, abandon the election and go to Antarctica? Oh, because he had to check out the climate change problem. Nah, I don't believe that. You have the Russians, the Russian clergy. He meets with the Pope, goes to Antarctica. James Clapper, the agent, goes. You got Obama going, and now you got Buzz Aldrin, who just got there, and now they had to evacuate him to New Zealand because he wasn't feeling well. So why are all these important people going to Antarctica? What's going on down there? We'll be back. 888-673-3700. Let's go to Mike in Maine. Hi, Mike. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead. Hello.
Hi, it's a real honor to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you.
Love listening to your show. I have two questions, really. Now that he's not going to be busy anymore campaigning, one of the things I love about your show is the guests you're able to get. What are the chances that you might be able to get John Podesta to come on and share his thoughts about things?
I don't think that's going to happen.
And secondly, in reference to Antarctica, I know a popular belief amongst mainstream archaeologists or university archaeologists and scientists is that it's an ancient civilization and those are man-made structures, but it's 2 miles deep, buried under the ice. I just can't imagine how they would ever be able to excavate something like that.
Well,
I'll hang up and listen to your thoughts.
Oh, thank you for that. All right. Well, it's like this. If we're to, if we're to learn that everything we know is wrong, if we're to find out that there is an ancient civilization that lived there at one time, we're talking 13,000 years ago, 12,000 years ago, and we're talking pyramids, we're talking structures under the ice, we're talking all these things. If we were to find that out, that would change history in a lot of ways. And once again, I always say to people, you always get these breakthrough stories that you read about on the internet that say, what is about to be announced is going to change history forever. And yet I don't see history changing. I don't see the mental capacity for people who even have a grasp of history accepting some of these new models that are put forth. So even if they found something in Antarctica, and even if it was alien, even if we found out it was some alien civilization, they had a base there, we found, technologies. Do you think they really would tell you this? Do you think they'd really reveal it? And see, this is why I think that it's so odd that we have all of these important individuals within weeks of each other going to Antarctica. It's like they went and they had a secret meeting about something they found or something they saw, and then, hey, why don't we invite one of the original astronauts to come down and take a look at what's going on here? I mean, he's excited about going to Mars. Maybe this has something to do with Mars. Maybe there's a Mars meteorite down there that has some information of the building blocks of the planet. That sort of thing, you know? And so it stands to reason that people are curious about what's going on there. Let's go to Chris in Virginia. Hi, Chris. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
All right. Well, there's quite a few things that could be going on there. One is, there's untapped natural resources there. And, everybody could just be showing up because maybe in that treaty they all decided, hey, let's go digging, let's find out what's going on.
Well, there are a lot of strict regulations, strict protocols with that treaty. And for some reason, like you say, all the resources there are precious. But if we were to believe ancient aliens, they found bee pollen down there. They found bacteria in the ice. And it stands to reason that a lot of diseases may be down there. It stands to reason that there may be things down there that are buried in the ice that once thawed out, they could revive or resurrect or, and once again, the question is, what if we find aliens down there or an alien civilization or even maybe an alien artifact or an alien body? I mean, it's not out of the question.
Oh, of course, because it's cold enough down there to preserve anything.
So
anything could be definitely presered down there. But
what do you think? What do you think is the reason for all of this interest in Antarctica all of a sudden? You have any ideas?
Well, I do have a theory now. With the whole thing that just recently happened with the United Kingdom and everything. What was it called?
Brexit.
Yes, maybe they are pulling their territory out, and there might be getting ready to be some big fight over who gets it.
Well, I don't know why they would pull out of it. I mean, if what you're saying is true, and if what I've been hearing is true, there are plenty of resources there, like coal. There's a lot of coal there, probably gold there, a lot of untapped resources that, once again, here we are talking about, resource management and culling of people to provide more land for the earth. And here we have Antarctica that is a virtually untapped resource, at least so we think. Maybe they're already tapping into it.
Who's trying to be the first to tap it? Exactly. So maybe there might be getting ready to be some big war on Antarctica to see who claims it all. I mean, it could be anything.
Well, of course, we have, stories that vilify the Russians because they all of a sudden woke up and said, hey, we want a part in this. And here we are, And another thing, too, about the frozen areas of Antarctica, you realize that if they were to bring something down there like a CERN or a Hadron Collider or anything like that, you would have conductivity that would be amazing because of the colder reaches of the colder areas of Antarctica that could be used to, naturally freeze areas to fire off these protons and these particle accelerators. I mean, they do it already in Geneva, but wouldn't it be nice if they could just do it naturally and not have to, totally freeze an area or totally heat up an area? They'd be able to have the best of both worlds down there.
But what would that mean for, the 90% of the world's water that, is provided from Antarctica?
That's the question. And the question is whether or not it's already been defiled. There was a theory I was reading about that I want to share with you coming up about maybe the reason why they're down there is because of CERN, and I'll tell you about that coming up. I thank you, Chris, for the call. Appreciate you calling in.
All right. Thank you, Clyde. Yes, sir.
You bet. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, they were also theorizing that something has happened with CERN, and that's why they're down there as well. I'll tell you about that coming up. It's kind of out there, but, anything can happen, really. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back. Get a free 1-month supply of Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code TSL. That's promo code TSL.
We've found enough coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountain that's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Former NASA astronaut Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, is being evacuated to New Zealand after falling ill. The 86-year-old tweeting these photos showing him preparing to fly to the South Pole as a tourist. Aldrin has already been flown to a U.S. base on the Antarctic coast. From there, he'll be flown to a hospital in New Zealand. So far, no word on what Aldrin is suffering from.
An old friend of mine, and colleague from Oslo runs a geological research station in Antarctica. 48 hours ago, his team found something. There's a structure.
A structure? In Antarctica?
Yes, and a specimen.
You'll see a travel announcement up from us shortly about the Secretary's upcoming travel. He will leave on Monday, the 7th of November. His first stop will be Antarctica, where he will have a chance to visit with scientists and researchers, both at McMurdo Station as well as the South Pole. He'll be the first Secretary of State and most senior U.S. government official to ever travel to Antarctica.
What happened after Trump got elected? What happened? Why did John Kerry scramble to Antarctica?
I'm going to hide this tape when I'm finished. If none of us make it, at least there'll be some kind of record. The storm's been hitting us hard now for 48 hours. We still have nothing to go on.
This is U.S. Station 31. Do you read me? Found something in the ice. We need some help down here. Can anybody hear me? We found something. Found something.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. You know, I got to thinking, this does sound like something taken right out of the pages of a Hollywood script. Like The Thing, John Carpenter's Thing, or Halt, Who Goes There, the old Thing from Another World from the old days. James Arness was in that movie, playing the creature. It's just too creepy when you consider the fact that all of a sudden everybody's like, hey, I want a part of this pie. Let's divide up the pie. It's Antarctica. I want a piece of it. They want good real estate for some reason. What's there? What do they know? I mean, we've been hearing stories about these, I don't know if they're greenhouses, but these underground places where they keep seeds and DNA and all kinds of things in the Arctic, and maybe in the Antarctic they have it there too. Seed libraries. They want to put one on the moon just so that we can keep everything intact. Maybe they know that a disaster is coming. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's why they all are looking at this prime real estate, you know, way south of the border. Then, of course, there's the possibility that they did find something buried in the ice that was alien or maybe man-made, thousands of years old. Maybe the pyramids are a factor. Maybe the tweet that Buzz Aldrin sent out when he was there saying something about the pyramid that he saw, maybe that too is a factor. He got sick. He was evacuated out of there, taken to New Zealand. John Glenn died today. A lot of weird things happening, but Antarctica seems to be this new focal point. And there are so many theories and so many conspiracy yarns and everything spinning that it's hard to keep a finger on everything. It's just all peculiar. You can go all the way back to the Nazis. You can go all the way back to Byrd and his expedition, Operation High Jump. You can talk about all of these things. Hitler's Germany that basically left Germany, went to Bariloche, hung out there, allegedly went to Antarctica. Some of the orders that the Nazis had created had been passed down from generation to generation, the mystical rites and all of the internal rankings of the CIA, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bohemian Club, the Skull and Bones, which John Kerry, of course, is a member. He went to Antarctica. There's still another theory, though, that may be happening that is terrifying to think about, and there's been a lot of speculation about the magnetosphere and how it's thinning down. Most of its thinning is happening at the poles. There are speculations about electromagnetic tests that are happening there where a so-called mini space fence or space dome has been created and is being tested with equipment that can simulate a CME. And there have been reports of military equipment there and science labs being built by NASA to simulate Mars conditions. And this is probably why Buzz Aldrin was wearing this T-shirt to Antarctica that had the front, "Get Your Ass to Mars." He had it right on the front, says "Get Your Ass to Mars" on the front of his shirt. And then, of course, there's an even wilder speculation, and it's about CERN. and this is way out there, so bear with me. The speculation deals with nanoscale black holes, and you heard Anthony Patch talk about that last night. Nanoscale black holes that have not evaporated in the tube wall at CERN. And the question is whether or not these strangelets or these nanoscale black holes have gone into the center of the Earth. Now, if this strangelet did not evaporate, or these strangelets did not evaporate in the tube, they could have fallen through the center of the Earth, and they would be making a journey front and back, up and down. This would explain the earthquakes in Chile, Argentina, New Zealand, because there would be a gravitational swing, like a pendulum, back and forth, creating tremors as this thing is trying to get, belched out of the Earth, or somehow, this convulsive thing the planet does with these strangelets. And there could be a secret CERN outpost where the coldest regions would be perfect to test large-scale superconducting devices, because superconductors have no electrical resistance, and generators using superconductors and superconductor levitation properties could be tested in a vacuum there, and there would be less mechanical resistance. Particles could then be theoretically spun at the speed of light and produce near an infinite amount of electrical watts, and boom! This could be a place where, we could, find ways to send people to Mars. Be more efficient and quickly. We'd be able to build rocket bases there. We go to Mars and the moon, and, maybe the Nazis knew this. Maybe Admiral Byrd knew this. Maybe this is something that we may be on the verge of finding out about, whether it be ancient civilizations, aliens, bases, whatever. It's just interesting that all these people have found their way into Antarctica. Let's go to Howard in Washington. Hi, Howard. You're on Ground Zero.
Hello, Clyde. Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you.
I would have given anything to be a fly on the wall to hear John Kerry's reaction when they first told him he had to go to Antarctica. But,
yeah.
At any rate, remember last summer I had a conversation with you. I was telling you about a conversation I had with Paul Stonehill. I believe I was on George Knapp's program at that time.
Uh-huh.
And we were talking about Lake Vostok and the Russian efforts to explore that. Now, apparently there was a enormous... Well, first of all, let me explain Lake Vostok. It's a primordial lake. It's huge. It's on the scale of like Lake Michigan or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there before the ice cap formed over Antarctica. And they've penetrated that with radar, and they've been able to find the shorelines, islands, and everything else that once existed there. It's all still there. Now, right in the Russian sector, there was a enormous magnetic anomaly. The Russians were trying to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways they were doing it, when they were doing the drilling, they were using a lot of diesel oil, melted the ice, and that was what prompted the protest from a lot of the international communities, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they did finally get to it, but when they did, what they didn't anticipate was that the pressure of the several miles of ice on top of it put the hydraulic pressure of that lake up to about 5,000 pounds per square inch, and when they got to a certain distance away from it, it just blew out, and they had casualties. It was quite a mess.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, according to Paul Stonehill, now he is the fellow that wrote the book about Soviet UFO encounters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the exact title of it, but according to him, after that occurred, the anomaly, this huge magnetic anomaly, which is many, many miles across, and it's been detected by, different nations, flying over it, they can pick it up. Apparently it moved. It moved up into the British sector. Now, this put it out of their reach. This might have something to do with this Russian buildup you're talking about. I don't know. It's up for speculation. Whatever's going on there is pretty darn mysterious. It's really fascinating.
I would say yes. I'm sorry. I just almost choked here. I would say, yeah, it is fascinating because I just think the timing for everything is off, and it's off in a sense that why would they drop everything to go to Antarctica all of a sudden?
Yes, that is really curious. Secretary of State, the president. Good God! I mean, this.
CIA, President, Secretary of State, religious Orthodox, Russian Orthodox leader there to do rituals and to go to the church there. They said that, he was just there to visit penguins. Buzz Aldrin, an astronaut, goes there. So we have an astronaut, a religious figure, a president, Secretary of State, head of the intelligence for the United States, all going down there within weeks of each other for something that, is not clear. And it's not about climate change. I can tell you that right now. I do not believe that any of this has to do with climate change. I believe it has to do with something else, something, I don't know if it's sinister, but it's certainly something that eventually will come out in the media, if not come out in the fringe media, the alternative media, that something important or bizarre or mysterious has just been unearthed in Antarctica. Something bizarre has just gone down there, and that's why all of these, and I'm sure there are going to be more. I mean, you have Russian military there, you have China, building their space station there in Patagonia. It just seems like, it's just too much. It all has to do with space, really. I mean, think about it. If it's a pyramid that was built there, what kind of civilization built it? If it's the machinery that they found in 2001, then who made that machinery and how did it get embedded in the ice? And what was it? Was it alien or was it something that was far more advanced than what we have even thought of in history? So, I mean, just go down the list of everything that has happened up until the point that now we have people like John Kerry and Clapper and Obama all going to Antarctica, and it just seems to make sense that something bizarre is about to be announced, or something was unearthed, or something was seen where it needed to be examined by those people, a religious figure, an astronaut, a president, an intelligence guy.
Yes. I would love to have been there to hear what Kerry said when they told him he had to go there.
Well, and I'm sure that they told him, it will be a diplomatic, climate change thing. You're going there to see the shelf melting off, but that's a lot of melting. I don't think that was the case. I would say that it's especially during the election. Why would he just up and go? This is
that's a crucial time.
Yeah, I mean, he left on the 6th and got there on the 9th.
And the truth is, the ice has actually been building up in Antarctica. It hasn't been diminishing.
Right. It's true.
So none of it adds up.
No, it doesn't add up at all, and that's why I'm asking tonight, what is going on? If somebody has an idea, or if they have an inkling, if they have a theory, I'd love to hear it, because Ron and I were looking and said, what the hell's going on in Antarctica that's so important? And why are all these stories being generated out of Antarctica? There was actually, and another thing that secured it was an ancient aliens talking about Antarctica and the possible revelations of pyramids built there. It all seems to be like this trickling down of disclosure or something of some ancient civilization or even alien civilization. Maybe even the Nazi bases are there. They're about to reveal it. I don't know.
Well, it bears attention. We'll follow this, and I'll call you on some future date, and we'll update this.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be updated. I hope it doesn't wind up censored like it was before. Howard, thank you for the call. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Buzz Aldrin was evacuated from Antarctica recently, saying that he had altitude sickness. He couldn't breathe, so they moved him from Antarctica. He went to a secret get-together in Antarctica. Something was going on down there. He had to be there. And so did the CIA representative, and so did the president. So did John Kerry. So did the patriarch of the Orthodox Church in Russia had to be there. I'm sure I can find some other people that were there that are slowly, coming up in conversation. That's why I wonder what the hell's going on in Antarctica. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Let's go to Sam in Kansas. Hi, Sam. You're on Ground Zero.
Evening, Clyde.
Evening.
There's several different people that have quite a few theories. One is the name Marshall Masters. And basically they're saying that this Planet X is scheduled to arrive somewhere late this month or maybe early January. It will be visible from the South Pole. And they have a lot of, I've seen pictures of, and you don't know what it is. It's just a big sphere in the sky. And what your one caller said about gaining ice, a year ago, it went from 26,000 square kilometers to 28,000 square kilometers on Antarctica. And in some places, it's 3 or 4 miles thick. Now, there are instances where the ice is melting, but it's on the peripheral, and it's but due to volcanic activity. And according to their theories, and a lot of it is based on the Hebrew text, our own Bible, accounts of the Chinese and India observations that they logged as this planet comes by. And there's a great deal of controversy as to when it does. It's 3,600 years to 300 years. I've heard a bunch of different theories about that. And as far as CERN, instead of opening a wormhole to bring something through, would they possibly want to escape the oncoming cataclysm?
Well, the idea is that the particles that they generate, one could easily not evaporate, and it could go down into the Earth. These micro, these nanoparticulate black holes could go down the middle of the Earth, and they could be like, the strangelets. And it could create some problems, and it could very well end up at the bottom of the Earth. And that was the theory that I was hearing, that maybe something has happened where, something has opened up down there and they have to analyze it.
Well, I mean, that could very well be true. But a lot of this phenomena began to occur before they ever fired up CERN, as far as volcanic activity increasing in intensity, earthquakes and them increasing in intensity. And as the closer this planet gets here, and it depends on where we're at when it circles our sun.
Well, and I have heard from people that the southern hemisphere is seeing the appearance of what appears to be another planet, what looks like another planet out there, just behind the sun. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. Sam, I'm out of time. I thank you for calling the program.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. More Ground Zero to come. Don't go away.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
About 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I went from being able to work 14, 16 hours a day with no problem to where I could barely walk a block to the store without having to stop and rest. I went on to the phytonutrients about 6 months ago, and within a couple of months, my medical doctor had cut my prescriptions down in a little bit smaller dosage. The next time I went back a month later, I walked into the doctor's office and he says, "My gosh, what's happened to you? You don't even look like the same person." He looked at my legs and the swelling had gone down. My blood pressure was down. The venous stasis ulcers that I had had on my legs for the last 4 or 5 years because of the poor circulation were all healed, and I'm feeling far better.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751 or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code TSL.
Let me be clear. As a citizen and as president, Ground Zero is indeed essential on radio and is essential to who we are.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. There's a conspiracy theory, I guess, in the making, or at least one that's spinning at the moment, about Antarctica. And it all surrounds questions about all these secret visits to Antarctica recently by a number of high-profile people, such as Patriarch Kirill of Russia, Barack Obama. Just before the Obama visit, it was revealed that China built a giant space exploration base near Antarctica. In fact, they built it in Patagonia, Argentina. The Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill, he went to the Antarctic to visit the only permanent church in the South Pole and to, of course, as the media said, visit penguins. But apparently he met with Pope Francis in Havana before he went to Antarctica. So what was it that he shared with Pope Francis? Because this is kind of a rare meeting of both the Pope and the Patriarch of Russian Orthodoxy. James Clapper, the chief intelligence advisor to Barack Obama, who oversees 16 agencies within the U.S. intelligence community, including the CIA and the National Security Agency, also went to New Zealand and Antarctica. So, and of course, now we hear that Buzz Aldrin was in Antarctica and that he was whisked away and evacuated out of there because he got sick. So now we have to ask if there's a nexus between the United States National Intelligence Program Director James Clapper and his secret visit to Antarctica and New Zealand in early March, the press revelation in March of the China Space Observatory having been established in Patagonia. Then Obama went to Argentina, and then he secretly got away to Antarctica. And then, of course, the Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill visited Antarctica in late February, and then Buzz Aldrin visiting. It's just been in sequence. Why are they making these visits to Antarctica? Why? And of course, Russia now wants to put their hat in the ring as to having the pie divided up once again, be part of the Antarctic Treaty. They want a piece of it, but they can't do anything military. That's the thing. And people are worried that that's what Putin wants to do, is he wants to establish some strategic military outpost there. And there are plenty of other theories, too, like, back in 2001, they found a strange artifact there that they had to excavate. And when they did, there were problems. They found other things near Lake Vostok and also had some casualties there. There was an explosion. The report of possible pyramids that are there indicate there may be, or quite possibly there was a secret or an ancient civilization that lived there. And there are many people that speculate that there will be a major announcement coming about Antarctica, about some find, archaeological find, or maybe the truth about maybe alien bases there or something. I don't know. What do you think is going on in Antarctica? 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Let's go to Kelly in New Mexico. Hi, Kelly. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, good evening, Clyde. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having me on. Hopefully the synchronicity has brought me forward. I have a family member that was actually part of the Navy as a flight engineer that did Operation Deep Freeze down in Antarctica in, I believe, the late 80s into the 90s. Investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe actually did an interview with him. And when he was down there, they had dropped off some scientists, and we're supposed to pick them up, whenever they called. Well, like 2 weeks went by, and they didn't hear from them, and they finally called, and they went to a remote location. And he said that when the scientists got on, they all looked like they were not well, and they had seen something crazy. And when they got back to camp, it was unusual because when they flew back, most times they would debrief and all that. Well, they put them on a waiting plane and sent them off, and they had all their gear in quarantine. Well, myself and my family member went to contact in the desert this past year here, and we had met with Linda and spoke somewhat about Antarctica and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And after we had gotten done and back home to our homes, my uncle got an unexpected call, and it was an individual, wouldn't say who he was, and said he needed to immediately stop talking about the missing scientist in Antarctica. And he asked who it was, and they wouldn't say, but they did say that they had been watching us down there and that they knew exactly who was all speaking with the missing journalist. Well, we reverse searched the phone number and ended up being the NSA. So whatever's going on down there, it must be pretty big to have some cohesion or I shouldn't say cohesion, some threatening tones towards an individual already had his story out for about a year and a half.
So are you saying that at Contact in the Desert, there were NSA agents down there?
Possibly.
I heard rumors too, and then I was being told that when I was there because I was involved with a few panels there, and I heard rumors that there was something going on down there where they were observing and listening to who was it? Wilcock. I guess he went down there and started talking about some alien war in Antarctica, and they didn't approve of it or something. I don't know what's going on. And there were others who were saying that they think that was a lie, that it wasn't really happening. There was no alien war down there, and how easy it would be to make up stories about something going down in Antarctica that isn't happening. But all of the disinformation that you hear, if it is disinformation, which I don't know, I haven't really heard all of Wilcock's stories, and I know that Corey Good is going to make an announcement about an Antarctica discovery. I guess this is what I'm hearing on in the grapevine. In fact, we tried to contact him today, and he said that he would make an announcement, soon. And I was hoping that we could get him on the show, but he declined tonight. Don't know why, but it just seems to me that there's a lot of silent mouths right now, and as we're just dipping our toe into this conspiracy pool, we're trying to see if the water's cold or if there's something that we most certainly should explore. But something really peculiar is happening, and just the way this is being handled is a little too weird for me.
Well, another interesting part is, my uncle did numerous missions down there, and so there was one medical evacuation they had to do, and I guess supposedly right at the center of Antarctica, there's a air sampling station where it's a no-fly zone. Well, they decided because of the threat of the medical evacuation, or I guess the condition of the individual, that they were going to cut through there. Well, when they did, they saw a giant hole in the ice. And when they got back, they got chewed out by guys in suits. Well, not only that, but he says a few times when down there, they'd see silver discs flying around the mountains. I have no reason to think that it's not true, but there's just too many coincidences, and there's too much synchronicity going on. And
so, bottom line, Kelly, what do you think is happening down there? I mean, you have, of course, a family member that's there. I've heard a lot of things so many things that sound outrageous. What do you think, bottom line, is happening in Antarctica?
Well, like you've said, and some of the other individuals have kind of pointed out, the ice and all that. Well, I think part of the continent is melting a little bit, and I think it's exposing some things that are ancient. Maybe they're crazy technology. Maybe it's more pyramids. I mean, look at all the pyramids they've had come everywhere. It could be alien. I mean, I have a kind of a family history. So, I mean, my grandfather was a B-17 pilot in World War II and did shuttle missions into Russia, bombing Poland back and forth, and he saw Foo Fighters and reptilian beings. And as crazy as that sounds, I've had my own experiences. I was in the military. I've seen some stuff. It's just too many coincidental things that maybe disclosure is actually going to start happening slowly but surely. And you reported the whole Pizzagate thing, and I know they're trying to do fake news. I think they're in damage control, and maybe they're going to release some new fine down there to kind of negate people from what else is going on.
Well, see,
and
and it's funny because I know that Pizzagate is kind of like the story that won't go away. And for the record, I want to tell everybody that we did 3 shows prior to the announcement of Pizzagate. 3 shows that would indicate that something peculiar was going on. Now, the whole idea of Pizzagate as it is was a false news story. It was all based on circumstantial evidence, false premise, and premise including code words that were misinterpreted, all this other stuff that pointed to this pizza parlor or whatever. And while I would say that yes, we know that bad things are going on behind the scenes in government. We know that there have been many people who have confessed to it. We know that even some people that are considered to be very credible have confessed to it. The problem is that when you're dealing in a subject such as this, and even, the whole thing about Antarctica, sometimes you have to put a boundary around the story, and you have to shake off the fat and get to the essence. And I think with the 3 shows we did prior to this interpretation of emails, I think put us in a position where we did the most objective report we could. And I think that the setup right now with the gunman and all the things that are going on with that's all part of false flag psyop, where they want to trap people who follow conspiracy theorists. And I know they're trying to trap certain ones. I am very selective about what I talk about. And if I don't talk about it, I don't think it's important at the moment. If I find something that is worthy of talking about, that would point in the direction of concrete evidence, then yes, I will talk about it. But
I wouldn't mind adding something. I mean, I don't want to take away and talk about that.
No, I don't want to hijack I will not hijack the topic tonight. No, it's not.
Yeah, and I don't want to. Back to Antarctica. No. I mean, think about it. It's mysterious. All these people going down there. We're talking about climate change, and if the narrative is what they're projecting is true, where we have some sort of melting, and I think it's all natural anyhow. It's been happening for thousands of years. But
right.
It just, if something's being revealed, they want to capitalize on it to make whatever story may or may not be true disappear. And everybody has a mystery, I mean, people are getting primed for alien disclosure, whether it be now, tomorrow, 10 years from now, 100 years from now. But whoever's in control of the information is the one that wins. And so,
well, they want to obfuscate. They want to obfuscate the information, and that is the point. I mean, it's a matter of who you trust. It's a matter of who you trust to get you the stories you want. It's going to get down to voting with your dollar. It's going to get down with voting with your support, voting with your shares on Facebook, voting with what you say you support. And it's going to be like that in the future. Otherwise, shows like mine, Alex Jones, Coast to Coast, they're all going to go bye-bye. And these are your information sources. And we have to take care in being objective and at least opening the mind to making decisions and seeking out the answers for yourself. I'm not the end-all, be-all, and I don't consider myself an authority on anything. Really, I just love to study, I love to read, and I love to present the information. And it's up to you, if you so choose, to sit down and actually study and piece it out and figure it out on your own. Because I do it too. That's what I'm paid to do. That's what I want to do. That's what I've been doing my whole life. And this Antarctica thing just smells to high heaven. When you have so many people in so many prominent positions going to Antarctica in sequence, and then you have something strange happen to an astronaut, you have to shake your head and say, what is going on down there, and what could be the big conspiracy? 888-673-3700. We'll be back. Triple 8-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Let's go to, is it Jocko in Maine?
Yeah.
Hi, Jocko.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. I called you last night trying to talk about it for some reason, and the call screener had said, well, it's not the topic, but I'm glad you're talking about it tonight. I think, if you look into companies like TRW, in the 80s and 90s, what they were doing with their communications technology, and perhaps even working with these little gray people that have, cloaks on, to keep maybe themselves covered.
Mm-hmm.
And, they offered to go to take me there, and I kind of didn't want to do it, so I didn't go. But I believe, if the people kind of knew what technologies were within the capability, maybe we'd be more open-minded to the possibility of what is really happening when John Kerry goes down to that hole in Antarctica and says he's doing some look at dripping ice in the middle of winter. I don't understand that.
So then you are also of the opinion that there was a hole that opened up there that they're inspecting right now, and that's the reason why they're there. It's a hole that may be revealing something that a lot of people need to observe and go back and report on.
Well, I think they're just not, approaching it in the right way, so therefore they're not getting a proper translation of what information they have, and they're trying to use it because they look at things in the terms of power and prestige and wanting, to control, and that's not how it really works. So, I remember the little gray people being very happy. I kind of understood what they were talking about, but it didn't seem like the scientists really did. And TRW at the time was world headquarters was in Cleveland, Ohio, and when the election was going on, I was pretty convinced that if Chicago won the World Series, that meant Trump was going to win, and that we might get a chance to get an opening of the truth here.
Well, you never know. The year is not over yet. It almost is, but I don't know if we're going to have any revelations anytime soon. I do think, though, that the gathering of all of these important people in a place that is hostile and mysterious, like Antarctica, speaks volumes. There is a connection, and it's not about climate change. I would bet the world on that. I don't think it's climate change. I don't think that's what's influencing this. I think there are other things at play here. And I don't know what it could be. It could be something fantastic for the world. It could be something shocking for the world. It could be something that would bring us closer to maybe revelations giving us the opportunity to do better in Antarctica for some sort of a meeting. And who knows what it was all about. And it's like William said earlier, I'd like to be a fly on the wall for those meetings because I would like to know what's happening. But there were so many things that built up to this, from the mechanism they saw, the satellite picked up there, buried in the ice, to visions, and in fact, Roger Cluton told me today that he said that he saw something flying up from Africa from the International Space Station. They cut the feed. NASA cut the feed again. And so there are all these things, strange things lifting off from Antarctica, strange things that are being seen in Antarctica, pyramids and other things. And, of course, that tweet that Buzz Aldrin sent out, I don't know if it's real or not. I'd say probably not, but it's certainly interesting that he sent allegedly this tweet of the pyramid structure, and then on the tweet it said, "We're all in danger, it is evil itself." But of course that was removed conveniently. We'll be back. This hour of the Ground Zero podcast is sponsored by Life Change Tea, herbal tea that tastes great, helps you lose weight and feel better. Go to getthetea.com.
What was the reason behind Obama's secret trip to Antarctica? What was the reason for CIA Director James Clapper's simultaneous visit? Why did Russia's top religious leader, go to Antarctica. There has been a virtual media blackout about these highly unusual trips made by officials in Russia and the U.S.
But strangely enough, there is left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. An area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being.
If there are things buried under the miles of ice at Antarctica, then that would mean that had to have happened before the last ice age. So who knows what we'll find there?
One hypothesis states that Antarctica is the former Atlantis, buried under the sea as a result of pole displacement.
It would be wonderful if the world community could set aside the Arctic for peaceful purposes only.
Mayday. Mayday. Anyone hear me? This is U.S. Station 31. You read me? Found something in the ice. We need some help down here. Can anybody hear me? We found something.
Recently, there have been a number of reports of pyramids being found on Antarctica.
After he was evacuated from the South Pole due to illness, former U.S. astronaut Buzz Aldrin posted photos on Saturday of his recovery in a New Zealand hospital. Aldrin is the second man to walk on the moon. The 86-year-old was visiting the pole as part of a tourist group. He was flown to Christchurch, New Zealand early on Friday local time when his condition deteriorated.
I think you'll see a travel announcement up from us shortly about the Secretary's upcoming travel. He will leave on Monday, 7th of November. His first stop will be Antarctica, where he will have a chance to visit with scientists and researchers, both at the McMurdo Station as well as the South Pole.
Head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patrick Kirill, has detoured from his Latin American tour to visit with people in the Antarctic.
I'm completely operational.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. What is going on in the land of the ice and snow? Antarctica. I know at this time of year we focus on the North Pole, but the South Pole is very interesting as foreign dignitaries, religious leaders, astronauts, intelligence ops, all going to Antarctica. No one knows why. Let's go to Reggie in Ohio. Hi, Reggie. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Clyde, maybe you can clear up something for me. At one time, I heard that there was an ozone break in the layer, but I'm not sure if that was the North Pole or the South Pole.
Well, the ozone layer was thinning in the southern area, the South Pole. There was reports that they were having times where they had to announce when the hole would open, when it would close up. It closes and opens periodically, mostly in the southern part of the world.
Okay, that's not an ongoing thing. Okay, would that be Antarctica?
Well, yeah, I'm sure that parts of Antarctica, but I knew that there were times when it would be the ozone layer would open up over Chile, or it would open up over Argentina. But I'm sure it opens up from time to time over Antarctica. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this story is very interesting because, well, it's a known fact. There's scientists all over the world, you know what I'm saying? And I know that they're at the North Pole or South Pole. I can't think where they're not scientists, you know. But when you mentioned the fact that was I had never heard before about all these dignitaries going down to Antarctica. I mean, that's not like they're going to Florida or the Bahamas or anything, you know. What would they want to be going down there for? You know, they usually engage in diplomatic things, you know, unless, you know, there's a Eskimo embassy down there, and that's what I find very strange and interesting, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Usually what I find is anything that deals with scientists, if it's a project too big for them to fund, that means the government has to have their hand into it, and that's where they get their funding. Once they get funding from the government, then that makes whatever they're working on become top secret.
Mm-hmm.
And because the government has their hand in it. And once it becomes top secret, you know what I'm saying, then the military is some kind of way involved, because any project, saying like that, I ever heard of that goes that deep, well, just like the CERN collider you was talking about. Well, yeah, the CERN collider is what they tell you about it is they're investigating molecules. They're trying to break up atoms, smash atoms, and find God particle, this and that. Okay, that's what they tell you. But what is it that they're not telling you? There's always something they're not telling you when the government is involved. The other thing is, how are all these important people making these trips? You know what I'm saying? And the media, at least the mainstream media, like I said, this is the first I've heard about the dignitaries going down there, and that's what really caught my attention. You know,
when they say that the when the Russian Orthodox Patriarch basically meets with Francis, Pope Francis in Havana, then from Havana he goes from there to Antarctica to, according to the media, visit penguins. I mean, what's he going to do? Convert them? I mean, no. He didn't go there just to visit penguins. There's something there that he needed to see. There was something there that they needed to do where they needed a clergyman to be there. And someone had mentioned that it sounds like a delegation of first contact. I mean, figure it out. You have a president.
That's way out there.
Yeah. I mean, you have a president. You have a secretary of state.
Is he really a clergyman?
Well, of course.
Is that a cover-up?
Well, no. He's a patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church. It's not a cover-up. He's part of that church.
Well, as the story goes, but you know how all these, when you start talking about that alphabet soup, you know what I'm saying? Who is really who, and who's working for who, and what's their real motive?
Well, I wouldn't try to embellish it with whether or not the guy's really an Orthodox patriarch, but I would certainly go with what I have so far, and that is why the excitement over Antarctica all of a sudden. Why are Russians now saying they want a piece of the pie when they never wanted a piece of the pie before? They were happy with Lake Vostok. They were happy with their little base there. There was no rush to get to Antarctica. We have a number of other countries that have their hands in the pie, but they have to keep it non-military. So there's no reason to set up a strategic area. There are resources I'm sure they could, rape from the ground there, like oil and coal and gold and everything else. But there are also artifacts there that have been seen, or at least people think they've seen stuff out there. So that's another thing to think about: is what ancient artifacts are there would throw history. What's that?
What about the satellites? Don't they have satellites that have flown over there and did some kind of energy where they was able to look through the ground and there's land up under the ice, right?
Yep. Yeah, they've been able to see islands and
so you can't hide.
land.
You can't hide that from anybody that has technology. That you can't hide it. They have the technology to see what's there. So they basically know something is there. Then what about the one where they say that how we might have those climate shifts that all of a sudden I don't know if it was Antarctica or the
flash crash
where they found the woolly mammoth that was frozen automatically. They said it must have happened almost immediately because it was frozen in place.
Mm-hmm. Maybe there was a crash there. Maybe there was a flash crash in Antarctica. You never know. I mean, what? They found bee pollen? They found bee pollen there? I mean, what?
Yeah,
why was there bee pollen there near that pyramid? Why was there old bacteria encased in ice there? I mean, and that bacteria, I'll bet you, if you were to melt it down, would be released. It probably is some disease that if there was to be released into the world, it'd kill people.
And if you were aliens and you were trying to keep yourself hidden, you know what I'm saying? It's only been in recent times that, man has been able to visit that place and study with any intensity. Where would you go to hide? That would be the perfect place, a desolate place where, most hardly any human beings could be found if you were trying to hide.
Well, allegedly,
maybe
it worked for Hitler.
Maybe we found that technology. Maybe they found that technology you're talking about. But one thing is usually anything good, you know what I'm saying, they don't want to tell you about it until they're able to make money on it. Anything bad, they don't want to tell you about it because they don't want to let you know that there's something out there that they can't control.
Well, if it's top secret, the military's involved, and that, I don't know, it just floors me that the media, they don't talk about this. You have to get piecemeal stories about it. And that's what's difficult, is trying to connect the dots, and I think that's the fun of it, but it's also frustrating. Joy in Virginia, you're on Ground Zero.
And how you doing? First time caller.
Thank you.
And I believe in like 2001, like you're saying, it probably satellite picked up an ancient civilization, and they've probably been digging on this till recently. And I think what they found was so shocking that they told Obama and the CIA and everybody else, y'all need to come see this for yourself, because you're not going to believe what we're going to tell you. So you need to come see it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel the archaeologists are way wrong on the dates and everything. And this stuff is probably 40 or 50,000 years old down there, not 4,000 or 5,000 years like to say all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're estimating maybe 12,000 or 13,000 years. Estimation that maybe there wasn't as much ice there, or that's when the land was, without ice and snow, and the vegetation was plentiful, and then something happened. Once again, the flash crash idea, like was said earlier about the mammoths, where they're sitting there, they're minding their own business, and they're eating something. All of a sudden, the temperature just dropped to below zero and froze them solid in the ice.
Oh, I agree, but I still think that could be older than 12,000 years. But irregardless of that, it was so shocking that you need to come see this for yourself.
Right.
And that's, from listening to the other callers, it make a lot of sense, and I think we have a lot of agreement there.
Well, we just have to wait and see. But I think the listeners are on to something tonight. They certainly are, thinking. That's for sure. Let's go to Roland in Oregon. Hi, Roland. You're on Ground Zero.
Yeah. Hi, Clyde.
Hey.
Pleasure to talk to you, and the honor.
Thank you.
In your program. I've been very interested in Antarctica for years and years. I think I first started researching it in 2010.
Ever notice what happens when your home is beautifully organized? You have more space, more room to breathe. At California Closets, our designers know just what questions to ask to create exactly what you want. Your personalized experience includes custom design and installation to deliver a result that truly reflects your style and needs. That's the California Closets difference. We call it practical magic. Book your free design consultation today at californiaclosets.com.
Hey, it's Scary. Summer's here, and the grill is going non-stop with Weber Seasonings Kickin' Chicken. It's a spicy kick of onion, garlic, pepper, and a little hint of citrus. Try it on pork and fish, too. Weber Seasonings Kickin' Chicken. Find it in the spice aisle or on Amazon.
Maybe because it's like in our backyard. It's something I can really see, get my hands on. But there's, you can speculate all day long. There's a few things that I found out that were just shocking to me. Mainly, I know I don't have much time, so I'll just get to it. But these are things I think are for sure. When I first looked at Antarctica, of course, the interior of it's all smudged out. You can't get any pictures of it. But there's the bases on the outside. And I expected to see little huts, like on that movie, The Thing, with Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm.
Outposts, they call them.
Yeah.
Not even. There's 2, 3, 4-story buildings. We actually had a nuclear reactor power plant during the 70s. It's been shut down now, but every base has big, giant, round fuel depots and air runways, and they all have radar installations and radio telescopes and visual telescopes. I mean, it's crazy. There must be 200,000 people down there. And I expected it to be something totally different. So I know that's for sure that they have been telling me or teaching us that. Then the other thing is you brought up the astronaut.
Mm-hmm.
He was Neil Armstrong, when he quit Apollo, and which all the astronauts, Apollo astronauts, almost all of them quit. The first thing he did was he joined an exploration team, and they explored. I think it was Carlsbad Caverns, trying to find a pathway into the center of the Earth. Is what they were saying, and that's kind of unusual that he would go and do that. And then so there's reason to believe there's voids under the Earth. There's also Hubble, in one of his papers, declared that all heavenly bodies are hollow. Now, not that I'm pushing a hollow Earth theory or anything, but there's the melting of the ice. It is indeed building up on the top of the Arctic and the Antarctic. But what's happening is it's raising the ocean temperatures. It's melting from the bottom up. I think your speculation is right on, Clyde. I think you got that something has been exposed. There's something that people do have to maybe see for themselves.
Well, that'd be
what it is.
that would be very telling of why we've been having the earthquakes we have been having in the southern portion of the Ring of Fire. You know, Argentina, Chile, New Zealand, Japan. We've been seeing these earthquakes so far, and once again, we go to the antipodal story of what is the antipodal point of New Zealand. It's Geneva, Switzerland. It's actually where CERN is. And CERN reported that when the earthquake happened, the simultaneous earthquakes happened in New Zealand, that they felt it, that they actually felt it. They saw the rafters move at CERN. And so, you know, to have something that powerful move through an antipodal point, that tells me that something's going on in the Earth. And to have all the excitement going down to Antarctica, maybe something has vibrated itself down to the South Pole. That would mean that something didn't evaporate at CERN and it's traveled through the core all the way to the South Pole and maybe has opened something. Maybe has revealed something. Maybe it's heated up something to melt the caps to show ancient artifacts. There's a lot of possibilities here. What's going on there? 888-673-3700. What is your opinion? We'll be back. Pennsylvania. Hi, Steve. You're on Ground Zero.
How you doing? Well, I've been practicing mind control for over 40 years now.
You've been practicing mind control? What do you mean? You control minds? What do you do?
So, no, as in like the government uses, the government program. Remote viewings.
Oh, remote viewing. That's not mind control. It's remote viewing. It's ESP. It's psychokinesis, telekinesis.
It's all a part of mind control. Mind control has many abilities, which includes self-healing and remote viewing. Besides, there's many aspects to it. But I was mentored by a nun, a Catholic nun, for 2 years in this practice. You always must keep good or God in mind when you're doing this. I know what's going on down there. Are you a Christian man, first of all?
Yeah, I claim to be Christian, yes.
What do you read, the Bible or like?
Yeah, I read the Bible. I don't read it all. I mean, I read the Bible. I've read it. I don't need to read it again. I've read it actually 3 times, but I don't need to read it again. So.
Did you comprehend it though? The whole aspect is related. The government is down there. There is a saucer down, or not a saucer, a sphere. There is one down there. And
so what's this got to do with whether or not I've read the Bible? You know, if there's a sphere,
back to the Bible.
What's that?
Got to understand. God created man. It goes back to when God. It goes back to the Bible. The Bible is a true book. That's why all the religious leaders, Quran, the Bible, everything, all them books have the same meaning to them.
Okay.
It just is expressed in different terms.
So once again, answer my question. Why would a sphere mean anything to me biblically?
Well, you go down to one. You gotta believe in the Bible, okay? God created many faces, right? Many different faces. He wasn't happy. He was lonely, so he made all these different faces. That accounts for the aliens. Okay? Now, then he created man in the image and likeness of himself. So we all are one. That's why government is getting the advice of all these religious leaders on what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, can the earth be saved, or the book of Revelation is that going to happen? Okay?
Okay. So once again, I ask the question, what does a sphere have to do with the Bible?
Okay. There's a space fence being built. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, I did a whole show on it a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Okay, I heard it. Okay. The space fence, Trump has to make the decision.
Okay.
Whether it's to activate this or not.
Well, I mean, I know that it'll be something that you'll have to activate maybe in 2018. I'm running out of time, Steve. I'm still at a loss here about the sphere in the Bible and what it all means.
Hello. Hello, this is the President. Hello, this is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. They're telling you about the monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. Tonight, we're talking about, well, something is happening around Antarctica. And it's shrouded in secrecy, but it's also attracting a lot of heavy hitters. The visit to Antarctica by the Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill, that happened in February. That was maybe the first sign of something unusual happening. Before that, the Russians had a keen interest in Antarctica. But before they had their little base at Vostok, but they didn't really have a hand in the pie, divvying up areas where governments and other countries have their little portion set aside for them. Barack Obama visited Antarctica. Actually, he visited Bariloche, and it's believed that he took a secret meeting in Antarctica. James Clapper, intelligence officer, Secretary of State John Kerry, and astronaut Buzz Aldrin, all in Antarctica. So the question is, about all these visits, all these high-profile people, what does it mean? What is going on? There are so many theories that have been spun, so many ideas that are being thrown into the conspiracy ring. It's hard to keep up with them. But I'm sure that we could find we could find something that would most certainly prove that there is some amazing things going on, or maybe something that we've always thought was going to happen. I just received word via email, and there's no confirmation, that after the report from the Russian Orthodox Patriarch back to Pope Francis, that Pope Francis wanted to make an announcement, and he hasn't made the announcement yet. But there was an announcement that he wanted to make as well. And there's so many people who are speculating all kinds of things. I decided to throw it to you tonight and to get your ideas. Because I would just think that, these individuals going there, it's either they're being shown something, and of course everything that they're being shown has to be, somewhat within the limits. So it can't be, I don't think it's anything military, because it has to be within the limits of the nation-state treaty. There's a lot of there are a lot of things in that treaty that keeps military from being there. Once again, Obama, James Clapper, Kirill. I'm just thinking of everyone that has gone down there to observe. We know that multiple scientific expeditions that have gone to Antarctica have been there. We know that WikiLeaks, after the visit from Kerry, actually sent out images of Antarctica. And much of what was being shown had people who were into the UFO phenomena just excited because there were what appeared to be things in the sky, including a USO, an underwater submerged object that was seen. But that's neither here nor there, and it most certainly adds to the mystery. 673-3700. We go to Brad in California. Hi, Brad. You're on Ground Zero. Hello. We need the phones turned up in the other studio, please. We need the phones turned up in the other studio, please. Is anybody listening to the show in the master control area? Hello? There we go. I need the phones turned on, please. They're not on. Hello, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hi, it's Brad. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Brad, go ahead.
All right, Clyde. Thanks, man. I love your show. It's nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Hey, I just, real quick, and I'll be brief here, but let's remind everybody that Antarctica is a continent and not an ice floe. You know, the polar bears are at the North Pole, and they're trying to survive on melting ice, but Antarctica is a continent. So there's, like, live Earth under there.
Yeah, there is live Earth under there, but when you go there, if you go about 78 degrees south, you start seeing this ice sheet that's completely overwhelming. It's like it's taller than any building. It's taller than the Sears Tower, about 3 or 4 lengths or 5 lengths of the Sears Tower when you go down there.
Well, sure, it's cold because it's it's the tip of the Earth, right? And I've actually got a friend of mine who was stationed down there at McMurdo Station, and he was a snowcat mechanic. But I asked him what was going on down there, and he said, "Oh, we're just mapping it out." And he said, "Look, we find all kinds of mountains and weird formations and everything, and they're just mapping it out." And then, of course, my mother-in-law went down there. I wish she would have stayed, but it's pretty cool. And the thing is like nobody knows what could be under there. It could be rich oil preserves and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's like the conspiracy theory that the Nazis went down there and put a base down there, and they could still be there. I mean, Hitler was everywhere. And
well, it was Byrd that said. I mean, Byrd kind of hinted at the idea that the Nazis were there. That that's what High Jump was about, to discover whether or not Nazis had bases down there. It's a good jump off point for space exploration, I'll tell you that.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Like, I just heard a thing yesterday about the reason that Cape Canaveral, they launched rockets from as near the equator as they can because they get the best speed to get away from Earth's orbit. So I would doubt that they would launch anything from the pole because the Earth isn't spinning as fast.
No, but there's a lot of high conductive material down there that would be able to create more power to send something faster into space from Antarctica.
Yeah, and also if you look at the Earth's magnetic field, the poles, and they're talking about polar shift and everything like that. That could be very interesting, as well as maybe there's some kind of energy source with the magnetic pole. That's
an idea too. Maybe they found the source, and maybe it's some huge amount of power that they needed these religious figures and the president and intelligence operators and secretaries of state to be there, and even an astronaut to be there to witness it, because it's something so amazing that they all had to have a meeting, or they all need to go there and take a look at it. And the fact that China had just recently erected their rocket and their space station right there in Patagonia.
Yeah, well, everybody wants to get their fingers in the till there, and if there's some kind of alternative energy source, there's two things there. There's one, yeah, it's going to be good, but also these people that control the petroleum products and everything, they don't want it changed. You know, they want to keep everybody with regular petroleum products because that's where they make the money.
Well, petroleum isn't always what goes in your car. You know that, right?
Well, yeah. Well,
and that's the problem. Everybody thinks that the evil petroleum companies are basically what you put in your car. No, your clothes are made of the evil petroleum companies. Your shoes are made of the evil petroleum companies. Tires are the evil petroleum companies. Things you use to survive, like plastics that they use for intravenous stuff and for heart valves, all part of the evil petroleum companies. So, I mean, if it weren't for the evil petroleum companies, there'd be many things we wouldn't have on this planet.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah, and I'm aware of that. But as far as fossil fuels, you know, they want to keep us buying barrels of oil, and if
not necessarily,
we can harness magnetic energy.
Not necessarily, because if they wanted us to buy only fossil fuels, then we wouldn't have these new electric cars. We wouldn't have hybrid cars. We wouldn't have these things. They would completely have kept them off the market if that's what they want. And then, if anything, we've got a glut now. So, you know, it just, I don't buy the notion that, you know, these companies, I mean, most of them do want to make profit off their oil and off their gasoline, and I agree with that. But I just don't think that's all what they're thinking about right now. I mean, I think they too understand that there will be alternatives, and they too want to have their hand in the alternative way of fueling this world as well.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to discuss that, but it's like, well, maybe that magnetic field is something, and and with the UFOs and everything, who knows how they're freaking operating? Somehow or another, they're defying gravity, and maybe that's got something to do with the magnetic field. And
well, maybe it's weaker there, maybe it's stronger there. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, is that I was told there was a theory saying that maybe the magnetic field has been messed with, that one of those nanoparticles or those nano, the nano quarks or the little mini black holes didn't evaporate totally, and they went into the center of the Earth, and that maybe now they're gathering up at the South Pole. Traveling downward, ending up at the South Pole, opening up holes, maybe magnetic holes that are very powerful. And that's why they're there, because they're exploring them and trying to understand what's happening. I mean, that would be a very, I know it sounds like an out there theory and there really isn't any way to prove it. Then there's no way to prove any of the other theories either, unless you go there. And I don't know of anybody that's planning on going there except for dignitaries now. But see, that's the thing, is that you don't know unless you go. And I don't know if many people are planning any trips to Antarctica. And I don't know how you'd book a trip to Antarctica, actually. I mean, that'd be interesting. Have you ever gone to the airport and say, I want to go to Antarctica, and what do I do to go? I don't think anybody's really done that in their lives. And if somebody has, please call me. I want to know what they were told.
My mother-in-law went down there, and she broke a hip and had to be flown up.
Oh, my gosh. Well, that's the thing, is that I wouldn't know the first thing about booking a trip to Antarctica. So that would be the hard part. So, Brad, thanks for the call. Yeah. I mean, have you ever thought to yourself, I'm going to go to the airport and I'm going to make reservations, or go to, Travelocity or these travel these travel websites. I want to go to Vostok. I want to go to New Schwabenland. That's where I want to go. I want to go to the base at New Schwabenland. Base 211. I bet they'd laugh at you. Sure you want to go to Antarctica. Sure you do. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Steven in California. Hi, Steven. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Doing great, man.
Good. I want to start off, first of all, before I give what I think what's going on. I want to talk a little bit about the Vril Society in Germany that kind of got all this going.
Right.
Most people don't know that they were Odinists. They were German. This is during World War II. And they were esoteric society, and they were Odinist. They talked to the Nazis. They guided them down to India to find Sanskrit, to find the Varma, and all this technology, which Von Braun on his grave has Psalm 19:1, which talks about the firmaments of the earth. So I don't know if he was an Odinist or a Christian. Now, saying that, they find these Nordic alien human beings, and they get this technology. I mean, this is very important. It's kind of crazy to even think that somehow these Germans can make contact with them. And this is a historical fact. So then they get this technology. The Germans make this spaceships, or whatever you want to call them. Then they go into Argentina. They're going to New Schwabiland, like you were saying before. I've never caught a flight there myself. I caught one to Brooklyn, but not New Schwabiland.
Okay.
And all this stuff kicks off with Admiral Byrd chasing them. And Admiral Byrd got the trifecta. I believe he went after the Flat Earth, the Nordic aliens, and the Nazis. And he definitely bit off more than he could chew, because if we know anything from another historical fact, he got his rear end kicked by spaceships, and he turned around, or UFOs, we could say, said from now on, during that interview, that next time we fight, it's going to be pole to pole.
Right.
So now he gets on his show, and he talks about that there's land beyond the poles, and so on and so on. Now, I'm going to, be clear. I became a flat earther, which I'm not promoting here tonight, but over thousands of hours of studying. Now, my point is, I believe the flat earthers, with all the testing and the challenging of NASA. By the way, I'm an RF engineer, and I'm going to tell you this right now. There's not many satellites up in space. Most of it comes from planes. I challenge anybody right now to show not a composite picture of all the 30 or 40,000 satellites. I've never seen one. But anyway...
I've never been in a bank robbery. That doesn't mean they don't exist.
Well, no, I'm just putting a challenge out there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I just, if all the space junk is out there, then, why aren't we seeing it?
It's falling from the sky. It's falling from the sky on fire. It's been falling a lot lately. We just did a show about that.
Well, that's right. You're going to have two different worldviews here once you start speaking of flat Earth. But I'm just saying that the flat Earthers have put a lot of stuff out there that has opened up and challenged NASA. There's no doubt about it.
It's a psyop. You realize, Stephen, it's a psyop.
Well, maybe it is.
It is.
Maybe it is.
And if people are falling for the psyop, that's the conspiracy, because what they're doing is they're making a mockery out of independent study and independent thought. And they're doing it by baiting people into this flat Earth thing that I don't know why it's all of a sudden taken on a lot of interest, but it's certainly, in my opinion, I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory. That's, the conspiracy theory of flat Earth. No, it's been a study for some time, but it's a psyop. The conspiracy is the psyop getting people to think that the Earth is flat.
Well, you know what? I mean, if I'm going to make an argument here right now, I mean, look, I'm going to take their math for every 1 mile is 8 inches. For example, what's that lake in Russia? It's 362 miles long. Well, there should be 20 miles of curvature. That's based on NASA's belief and the heliocentric people who believe in the world is round. Well, Kansas is flatter than a pancake. Where's the curvature? So, I mean, we could do this all night, but that's not my point. And I understand your worldview. I have a different worldview.
What I'm saying is that perception always, can be, fooling you. Perception can fool you. And I understand that, as you said, as we head, towards, like I say, 78 degrees south, we start to see this ice wall. And it would be easy to think that what we're seeing here is we're seeing hundreds of miles, if not thousands of miles of ice sheet that most certainly is holding the continents and the water all in one place so that we have a flat Earth, and that whole area of Antarctica is circling the entire planet. I mean, I can easily see how that can be misconstrued, but, obviously if we really took the time and you could see it, you'd see that that's not the case. And that's why I think it's a psyop. I really do. And Stephen, I'm sorry that we went off in this direction. I'm out of time. But thanks for calling the program. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
This hour of the Ground Zero podcast brought to you by the Organic Family Bucket. What goes in your body matters. Go to organicbucket.us. That's organicbucket.us.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Land that might be in New Mexico or Arizona. Pictures alone will prove Bunger has discovered a warm oasis in the shadow of the pole. It is for such supreme moments as this that men brave the hardships of exploration.
What was the reason behind Obama's secret trip to Antarctica?
Buzz Aldrin, the infamous Apollo moon landing astronaut, indeed the second man to walk on the moon, has just been evacuated from none other than Antarctica.
Why did Russia's top religious leader go to Antarctica?
Antarctica plays a fundamental role in the way the Earth functions.
John Kerry, Secretary of State, right now he's in Antarctica, of all places, this very moment.
There's been a virtual media blackout about these highly unusual trips made by officials in Russia and the U.S.
In January 1939, Nazi Germans on a secret expedition arrived in Dronning-Maud Land, Antarctica. Although Norway had made claims to Dronning-Maud Land, the Germans disregarded this, and on arrival they punctured the house with German flags and draped swastikas from their aircraft, marking a new addition to the German army.
Polar researchers, Antarctica is a giant laboratory more than 1.5 times the size of the United States, and home to 90% of all the ice in the world.
Anything that happens down here, anything that changes, will affect the rest of the world, will affect the rest of the world, will affect the rest of the world.
Cairo arrived in Antarctica, performed a religious ceremony blessing the land and water surrounding the continent. He praised the barren lands of Antarctica as a model of ideal humanity.
Apparently Antarctica is literally crawling with weirdness.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. What are they doing down south? Way down south. South end of the globe. Southern polar ice cap. Antarctica. Most certainly a mystery, and it's also mysterious that a lot of leaders have found themselves down there. It's amazing to hear that this has been happening, and a lot of people speculating on why. Let's go to Melody, calling in from Colorado. Hi, Melody. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde.
Hi.
On your email, I sent you an article called Ark of Gabriel. It should be Gabriel.
It's Art of Gabriel, yes. Yeah, I was reading that just now. Tell me about the Ark of Gabriel. This was given from the Middle East to Vladimir Putin, right?
Right, that's what I'm reading, or what I found. Supposedly this ark was given to their prophet Muhammad by legend saying Archangel Gabriel.
So you're saying the Muslims had in their possession the Ark of Gabriel?
The Muslims had it in their possession.
And where did they?
Let me just read this real quick.
Go right ahead. All right.
Wild rumors that a fabled device or weapon called the Ark of Gabriel has been found under the Masjid al-Haram Mosque, the holiest site in Islam, are sweeping across the darker corners of the internet.
So they found it under the Mecca stone is where they found it?
Right.
Okay.
And it says, Archangel Gabriel told the Virgin Mary she would give birth to Jesus and dictated the Quran to Prophet Muhammad, also entrusted an ark or box of immense power to the founder of the Muslim faith. Muhammad was told to bury the ark in a shrine at a place of worship for it to be brought out at the end of the world approaches. Paranoid survivalists believe Saudi Arabia has uncovered the ark during a major construction project at the Grand Mosque and handed it to the Russians. They claim the Russian military is taking the ark to the Antarctica, possibly to a former Nazi UFO base. A blogger, now they're referring to Circufel, and that site is known for
disinformation.
You have to be careful on what you read.
It's a disinformation site, yes.
It has some truth and some not. But this is actually identified on a lot of information.
When I saw that, it was just basically they were making a small reference to Sorchefal, but this information was not taken from Sorchefal. It was reported from New Zealand, apparently. This story was generated out of New Zealand about the Ark of Gabriel. It was supposedly discovered, about a year ago, under the mosque in Mecca.
In November, taken to the Antarctica.
Right, and so that would make sense if that's true. It said that after it was discovered, this is why I guess that crane fell on Mecca. Remember that? Killed a bunch of people.
Right, it was saying that.
They said it was like the opposite of 9/11.
Deaths involved.
What's that?
There's been numerous deaths.
Yeah. The deaths and the crane falling there in Mecca was horrible. But then, so I had heard that, and this is interesting, that, okay, so did they move this ark to Havana? That was it in Cuba, and the Pope inspected it, and then they made a deal with Patriarch Kirill. And then Kirill basically went there. They brought it to Antarctica, I guess, to do a ritual on it, and that's why Kirill went to Antarctica?
Yeah, there was a ritual in Antarctica that Putin requested, and I guess some strange things happened on that. And what I sent you has to do with another site that I'm not real familiar with, but it's giving some more material that's not in the normal. Mm-hmm. And it's saying, hold on, let me find it here.
So it stresses here, the Ark of Gabriel is not the same as the Ark of the Covenant, which Moses brought out of Egypt.
Yeah, that's questionable. Somebody took from the Bible the measurements of the Ark of the Covenant, and they're saying this Ark of Gabriel is the same measurements. But on the other end, it's saying it is not the Ark of the Covenant, and it's they're saying contains a black data crystal left behind by the one Draco king as he played the role of Gabriel, teaching Muhammad data collections. Now, I don't know how accurate this other part is. It's the records of the true origins of Islam, data collectors. It is an isolated data crystal. There are no records of its contents in this moment. And then it's at the Antarctica RF Russian Federation base, Southern Point, NABRAC.
Lake Vostok.
I'm sorry, what?
Lake Vostok. They took it to Vostok.
Okay, it could be. I don't know. You're a lot more knowledgeable on this stuff than I am. But it's supposed to have a lot of power, but it's basically describing also when it's uncovered, it's an apocalyptic weapon, and it's end times. When it's opened up, discovered, it's relating to end times according to their beliefs.
Uh-huh.
I went ahead and emailed this to you. When I found this a while back, I had looked at a lot of different postings regarding this subject, but the one that I sent you has a little extra on it, and I can't really verify that extra.
I'll look into this. It sounds intriguing that because there was, Kirill did go to a church, and it was the Trinity Church there. It's a church that it's the only church there, I guess, in Antarctica, if I can say that. And apparently he did a ritual there, and then, nobody knows exactly, and they don't elaborate what the ritual was. But that would explain a lot of things. And, of course, if they brought it to the area where these so-called pyramids were, that's another thing, that maybe they did do a ritual there or something, and that's what it was all about. And they had to have a number of people witness it. I don't know.
Now,
It's just a creepy idea.
Something you can also add that when Tiamat exploded, turned into Earth, that was way back, part of the Humantia Earth material.
Tiamat, yeah.
Supposedly the reptilians went underground inside inner Earth.
Well, and the inner Earth theories were first proposed.
On that end too.
Well, they were first proposed by people like Madame Blavatsky, and of course the Vril and Hitler and the coming race. All these stories that were coming out of turn of the century Germany, eventually leading to the Nazis. The stories of the Vimana becoming the Vril ships, the Hanabu ships that may have left Argentina with the U-boats going to Antarctica and New Schwabenland, which of course is the base there in Antarctica. Who knows? I mean, it just gets creepier and weirder and more mysterious as the show goes on. And Melody, I thank you for contributing to the program tonight.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Well, Melody had a most outrageous story to tell us, which, once again, you never know, because this place is so mysterious. It's a strange place. It's Antarctica, and who knows why, if they did take this ark, why they took it to Antarctica. Maybe they needed to somehow open it or do a ritual on it that's far away from any civilization. And that would be why the Russian Orthodox Patriarch met with Pope Francis. The reason why Obama met with Pope Francis, Obama went to Antarctica. The intelligence op Clapper went, Kerry went, and now Buzz Aldrin. It's amazing. 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL. This is Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
Annie in Alabama. Annie, you're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde.
Hey.
Have you ever heard that when you fly over the magnetic pole, your compass is going to spin?
I've heard that, yes.
Well, if that's really true, all you've got to do to create a huge dynamo to generate lots of electricity is get something to spin, and you've got free energy. Have you ever heard of any theory like this?
Well, the idea that the conductive nature of the South Pole would create mountains of energy makes it a great place to maybe launch a faster engine, or an engine that has unlimited energy to go to Mars. That's what I was reading today.
Yeah, and you might be able to find a way to create enough energy to power the whole Earth with the poles. And this other theory about Adolf Hitler, I have heard a theory that he was frozen alive down there in some kind of a lab where they freeze people, and that he's been found alive and well. And there's a temple down there, like Göbekli Tepe, sort of, and some burial grounds and tombs with aliens and strange creatures and people. A UFO base and tunnels under the earth with people, aliens, and strange creatures in suspended animation frozen down there. And tunnels going all over the place. And they're going to run those electricity cables through those tunnels up into South America.
Well, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard that they found machines down there that they couldn't explain. They've bored tunnels down there. The military has tunnels bored underground there. They have bases. Nothing military as far as war weaponry or anything like that. All scientific. NASA, the military, the naval intelligence, all these groups They have their hands in the pie down there. Russia now has their hands in the pie down there. England, Argentina, several other countries, Poland, they all have their hands down there. China just built a space station that they can use for space travel in Patagonia, Argentina, near Antarctica. So these things that are happening, there seems to be no rhyme or reason for it. It's just going on, and then when we have all these officials going out there and rumors of why they were there, you've got to focus your attention on the area and understand that it's been a mysterious place. It still is a mysterious place, and the mysteries may be revealed soon, because it just seems to me uncanny the way this has all been going on.
They probably have a lot of free energy down there. I bet that whole place is powered with a giant thing like a compass that makes energy like a dynamo.
You know, it could be that way. I mean, I don't know. I've never been to Antarctica. I don't know many people who have. We had a few people call the show tonight saying that they've had family members who've gone down there. But I don't know, if you'd really, I don't know what you'd do down there. I know you say, show me the aliens, or show me the strange things that are there. I don't know if anybody would have a tour bus to show you all the strange anomalies, and that's why I think it's kind of funny that, we can speculate, but unless you're there, you don't really know for sure, so that's what makes it so mysterious and interesting.
Well, I've been experimenting for years with the bicycle wheels and the magnets, and it will spin for a little while, but after a while it comes to a place where it's kind of in between the two magnets, and it just finally continues to rock slower, and finally comes to a standstill. I've tried all kinds of things.
So is that why?
I know that.
Is that why you're a millionaire?
Who says I'm a millionaire?
You told me you were a millionaire, didn't you? You said you were a millionaire?
Oh, no. I inherited $3 million and I never got it. I'm a victim of identity theft.
So you inherited $3 million and somebody took it from you because of identity theft?
I never got it.
Who did you inherit from?
I never even... My aunt.
Okay, so you inherited from your aunt. And so there's no way they can go in and intervene and say, screw this, she's worth $3 million, she gets the $3 million. There's no way they can get it for you.
I've talked to a lot of lawyers, and there was one lawyer who was after it, hot and heavy, and he died from lung cancer. And no other lawyer would take it. They said they wanted money up front, and I'm just absolutely destitute. But well,
what you say to them is, hey, give me the $3 million, and I give you $1 million. If that's not enough to incentivize you, then there's no reason. That's what I'd say. I'd say, hey, look, I'm entitled to that $3 million. You get that $3 billion and everything. I'll just hand you $1 million. I mean, easy come, easy go, right? You hand the guy $1 million. You walk away with $2 million. You live happily ever after, and you can use your bicycle wheels and your magnets to create free energy all you want. How's that sound?
Well, you tell a lawyer that. They want money up front. Okay. They don't care.
Annie's in Alabama, and she had an inheritance of $3 million, okay? And she said that she had it ripped off from her for identity theft. Now, if you're an aspiring lawyer, a new kid on the block, green, and want to get yourself $1 million, all you have to do is contact Annie in Alabama, or contact me, and I'll find a way to get in touch with Annie, and we'll get this rolling, because you'd get $1 million, and I have to get 10%. Is that okay, Annie? If I get the lawyer, I get 10%, right?
How do we know the money can be recovered when it's been stolen?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's no excuse. Okay, a lawyer would have to come forward and say that he wants to get $1 million, and you give me 10% of what you get, and then the rest will be yours. You'd still be a millionaire. I mean, there's no excuse. A lawyer there's no excuse. A lawyer can get it. A lawyer would have to get it. When you say that, no excuse?
The money's been hid.
There's no excuse.
He's got the money hid.
There's no excuse.
He makes out like he's destitute. He's got the money hid.
No excuse.
He always says he's got nothing.
No excuse. No excuse. None. No excuse.
FM News 101.
PanicBucket.us.
Let me be clear. As a citizen and as president, Ground Zero is indeed essential on radio and is essential to who we are.
spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. So I've been receiving a lot of emails speculating more on what's happening in Antarctica. There have been secret meetings going on throughout the year, according to an email I just received. All things above the government, all things flying south, all things meeting South Argentina, Falkland Islands, Patagonia, Antarctica. Secret activity, security, Southern Hemisphere near Antarctica. Ongoing negotiations over space, apparently. And someone had sent me a video of Barack Obama meeting with his advisors on science and technology after his visit to Argentina and after his alleged visit to Antarctica. Listen to this.
I'm having an opportunity to meet with my Science and Technology Advisory Group, which has worked on an ongoing basis on a whole range of technology and science and research issues. And we're joined by a couple of our cabinet members, Secretary Burwell and Secretary Vilsack. The reason I called you guys in here today before the meeting is I wanted to talk about an issue that is of great importance to America's public health and the world's public health, and that is some of the problems that we're having in antibiotics becoming less effective, and the need for us to deal with these drug-resistant bacteria. This is a major public health issue. Some of you may have been reading and hearing recently about the problem. Drug-resistant bacteria are one of the most serious public health issues that we face today.
Now, here's the interesting thing about this. We were talking about this just, with Dr. Wallach a couple days ago. And as they were looking around in Antarctica, according to a report, when they were near these tetrahedral mountains, they found bee pollen and they found bacteria that was in the ice. Strange bacteria that they had no idea what it was. And it was around that time, actually, just right after the election, about 2 or 3 weeks after the election, that we started hearing stories about drug-resistant bacteria. So this could very well what they have found in Antarctica is a new strain of bacteria. That's another theory. And that would probably be the most logical theory. Why? Because there are a lot of things that are frozen down there that could be released. Remember the X-Files? Remember the X-Files episode where they were talking about one of the biggest aliens of the planet is a bacteria, that it will attack its host and it will bring it to its knees. It will destroy it. That's what the bacteria is. It's like an alien. It will come in, it'll invade its host, and then it'll kill its host. So they found some bacteria that they could use and weaponize, and that it's this bacteria that's resistant to antibiotics, then that would stand to reason why all of a sudden there's this concern. And this has been going on for some time now, that finally, we talked about this a few days ago. Now, I don't know if it's connected. I had no intention of connecting it. But it's bizarre that this is what was discussed after these visits to Antarctica. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Let's go to Judy in Ohio. Hi, Judy. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Oh, that's good. I love your show.
Thank you.
I have a different twist on this.
Okay.
You might find it comical.
All right.
Do you remember the original Star Trek episodes? There was one particular one where Kirk and Spock had to beam down because this planet was going to be hit by an asteroid, and they landed on like this pyramid-shaped thing. Kirk fell in, lost his memory, and he joined up with like a Native American tribe. You remember that episode?
He joined up with a tribe?
Yeah, it was like Native Americans lived on this planet
Okay.
that they were trying to save. Do you remember that episode?
Trying to think of, it's the original Star Trek?
Yes. Anyway,
I know which one. I know which one you're talking about. Okay, I know which one you're talking about. I know it. And the thing is that there was this
code.
Well, yeah, there was this. It's an amazing. It looked like a pyramid. It wasn't really a pyramid though. It was something else. And
kind of like a.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like a pyramid obelisk kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had to crack the code. They had to crack the code that had the laser to like move the meteor.
Right.
I was kind of thinking of that because with the Catholic Church having Lucifer, they're looking for something. I'm wondering if that's why these dignitaries and that aren't going down there, because maybe they feel that they have to do something to break the code or get this thing started.
Right.
To, you know what I'm saying?
I understand that it's something like something like that is down there. Something like what they encountered in this episode. I think they call it the Paradise Syndrome. That's the name of it, the Paradise Syndrome.
Right.
Where they go down to this planet and they want to. There's an asteroid that's supposed to be hitting it, and so they go down to find out what's going on, and they find this pyramid obelisk thing, and it has different markings, weird markings on it and stuff. Yeah, and it's a musical thing, and then they meet these Indians, or they look like Native Americans, and once again, Kirk falls in love with one of them. And she's a woman, and she ends up, I guess, dying, and I guess Spock is there. I remember.
The planet was having all kinds of earthquakes.
Yeah.
If you remember in the episode, there was like all kinds of earthquakes. And the closer the thing was getting to them, the more the earthquakes were hitting.
So you're speculating that maybe what we have here is we have some sort of artifact that was seen in 2001 that they excavated, and that it may be causing this type of turmoil down there.
Right, and the Vatican knows something's coming this way because of Lucifer, and that's why the Pope met with the other dignitary, and, maybe he was going to be his liaison because the Pope himself wasn't going to go down there.
Well, I mean, you could probably, no. You could probably observe it from there in the southern part of the way south southern part of the globe, and a lot of people have been writing me, telling me, Clyde, you can see so many things in the southern pole, including Planet X. They're speculating about Planet X.
Right.
So who knows?
That's what I was thinking. Maybe they say art imitates life. So Roddenberry was a genius. So
it's true. It's true. Well, and it's funny because every time around this time, around Christmas time, they always break out the Planet X saying, "Oh, this year's the year," or they say that it's going to happen, and I always wait for it, to happen because and the thing is, if Nibiru or Planet X is coming or it's nearby, well, we have been having a lot of earthquakes. I would say we have a lot of devastation, a lot of earthquakes, a lot of strange weather. Well, guys, guess what? We've had a lot of it this year. Maybe Planet X is coming. I don't know. I'm sitting here I'm trying to avoid the possibility, and I don't want it to be true. Okay, so but the way things are anymore, you never know if maybe they are seeing Planet X, and that would be right.
Right, and that's what that building or pyramid or whatever is down there, and they discovered it, and
it's a beacon. It's a beacon to Planet X. It's a beacon to Planet X. That's what it is. All right. Thank you for the call. Thank you so much.
Okay, you have a good evening.
All right, you take care.
Bye.
Who was it was telling me the Marshall Masters was talking about this could be some sort of a meeting about Planet X, that maybe Planet X is coming, the Nibiru is on its way. I mean, didn't they just announce, what? They announced that they found Planet X last December. I think it was, was it Berkeley they found it or something? And then, everybody's like going, oh, it's not Nibiru, and they're still trying to calculate the math, and it's hidden somewhere behind the sun, and after that, so many pictures were coming out of Antarctica and South America saying, look at this, and you see the sphere behind the sun coming at you, wondering if it's Planet X, man. If it is, we're all dead. I don't know. Gets any closer, we'll have a lot of problems on the planet. 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
Planet X. What's the deal? NASA says it ain't real. Look up in the sky. We're all gonna die walking in Nibiru Wonderland. Earth is doomed. Are you listening? Now the atmosphere, it's missing. We were right. The government lied. Walking in Nibiru Wonderland. Now you know that we're really doomed, man. Even though they say that we're okay. Does it really matter if we're doomed, man? Just max your credit cards and do not pay. Later on, we'll perspire as we burn in the hellfire. All the plans that we made can be thrown away. Walking in the Nibiru Wonderland. Yeah, okay. And that is it. And that's that was sang last year with Marshall Masters. Walking in Nibiru Wonderland. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Go to Brian in Texas. Hi, Brian. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man.
All right, I got a curveball for you.
All right.
Well, I was thinking about the old Black Knight satellite.
Yeah.
I think there's any correlation between both of them.
I don't know. I mean, you never know. That thing's been hovering out there for a long time.
Yeah, like the ages of the pyramids. Do they even know what the age of them are?
No. Well, I'm sure they can estimate. I don't know offhand how old they are, but I mean, if anything's been recovered, or at least unearthed, or the ice has melted over the structures down there in Antarctica, it has to be at least 13,000 years old.
So that'd make them pretty much both the same age.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, 13,000 years old. Give or take a few thou, I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what they can think what the ice sheet was, and how the ice sheet actually showed up on the southern pole. I mean, they believe that Antarctica probably was not always iced like that. There was something that it had to and there are places there that have vegetation and they don't show up with a lot of snow. But it is, once again, a very, very large ice sheet that many people, when they see it, they're just like in awe of it.
Yeah, I figured that'd be kind of crazy, I mean, because, as you know, it went off the radar. No one else talked about it,
right
after its height.
Well, we've talked about it. We've done shows on it, and it's still out there. In fact, there was a Pepsi commercial that was released online that talked about the Black Knight satellite and how it wanted to communicate with us, and it communicated us to us through song, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I was just going to throw that out there and let your listeners hear it.
All right. Well, I thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
You too. Take care. 888-673.
When you look around your home, what makes you smile? Personal touches, beautiful light, lines, colors, things of quality that enhance your life. California Closets specializes in making space for what belongs, with richly textured finishes and quality materials that last. From the bedroom to the pantry to the mudroom, everything we do is custom designed, built, and installed by people who take pride in serving you. Think of it as practical magic. Book your free design consultation today at CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, it's Scary. Summer's here, and the grill is going non-stop with Weber Seasonings Kickin' Chicken. It's a spicy kick of onion, garlic, pepper, and a little hint of citrus. Try it on pork and fish, too. Weber Seasonings Kickin' Chicken. Find it in the spice aisle or on Amazon.
3700, that's 888-673-3700. Hey, while I have the time to tell you, we're going to have our Krampus party this coming Saturday. And that weather better get damn better because, I mean, the Krampus party is going to be amazing. And I don't want any excuses either. No excuse. You got to go. Last year we had a big turnout. This year we want an even bigger turnout. And it'll be Saturday at 7 at Renner's Bar and Grill, 7819 Southwest Capitol Highway. That's 7819 Southwest Capitol Highway. A few days ago, it was Krampusnacht. Krampus night. I'm not good with my German tonight. Krampusnacht. It was Krampusnacht the other night. And so we're, 2-3 days later, we're celebrating it at Renner's. Come on over to Renner's Grill in Multnomah Village on Saturday. And that'll be from 7 p.m. to midnight for the Krampus party. There will be Krampus costumes. If you want to dress up as Krampus, we will have cash prizes. We're inviting people to bring their creepy dolls. I don't know what we're going to do with creepy dolls, but if you have a creepy doll, you can bring that as well so I can get creeped out by your doll. If you have a real creepy doll you want to bring, that'd be cool. There'll be plenty of German cuisine available, German beer, and the German cuisine is amazing. So bring your appetite because you're really going to enjoy it. Last year, I ate so much because I wanted to try everything. Everything was just remarkable. Looks so good at Renner's. The cook went all out, and we'd really like to see you there. So come on out. We're going to have brief history about Krampus. Maybe some ghost hunting, some ghost stuff. Roger Cluten from Northwest Ghost Recon did a ghost hunt last year. Found out that there was a very, very, very violent ghost that was upstairs at Renner's. And we actually had software that showed the ghost, and this is the amazing thing, showed the ghost coming out of one of the bathrooms. We saw this software that was able to pick up on figures that move through and pick up the signature. Thing came out of the bathrooms, then shot up through the ceiling, went into the area where they were doing the ghost investigation, and it attacked Roger's girlfriend. And we had to escort her out of the building and into a truck. Roger snapped some pictures. You could see the entity's face hovering over the truck. It was really creepy. This year, I think we're going to limit a lot of our investigations into the alleyway that's right there by the bar. So we'll do some investigations there. Maybe even, use some of your creepy dolls. Who knows? But in the meantime, Krampus costume, money prizes, food, fun. You got to go. It's this Saturday at 7 p.m. at Renner's. Renner's Bar and Grill. Fantastic place. Across from Fat City in Multnomah Village. It's 7819 Southwest Capitol Highway. That's 7819 Southwest Capitol Highway. I look forward to seeing you there, seeing you all there. I'm really excited, so come on out and be a part of that. Coming up, more of your phone calls on Ground Zero and what may be happening out in Antarctica. So many different theories, so many different things being sent to me. I'm loving this because maybe I can find some things that would coincide or that parallel what people are saying, and maybe I can get down to the bottom of it. In the meantime, so many interesting things to cover and talk about. If you have a theory that you'd like to present, I'd love to hear from you. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
How you doing? It's Jimmy here from Zeepa. Today I wanted to tell you about my efforts to achieve global elimination of snoring. It all starts with respect. Respect for yourself and respect for others. Listen, you think you're being a nice guy or a nice girl by letting the guy or girl next to you sleep and snore every night. It's the ultimate disrespect to have that.
Obama traveled to Antarctica. CIA Director James Clapper, Russia's top religious leader,
John Kerry, who is the Secretary of State, also visited Antarctica.
Earth is now warming up.
And the ice is melting in Antarctica.
There are plenty of places at our south that are under heavy military guard, and that you cannot visit. Furthermore, there have been noted some very obvious censorship. When you try to look at the South Pole via satellite images, Google Maps, there's places that are completely blurred.
There's been a virtual media blackout about these highly unusual trips made by officials in Russia and the U.S.
3 enormous pyramids were found in Antarctica. Could it change the world as they believe? It is in fact almost identical to the size and shape of the pyramids in Egypt. But does this prove that our civilization dates further back than scientists first thought?
Nazis led an expedition of 33 members, including scientists, to Antarctica just before the start of World War II in September 1939. The regime was clearly looking for someone.
A defecting Russian scientist has surfaced with a mind-bending account of what really occurred when he and his colleagues went missing for 5 days in a mysterious lake 12,366 feet beneath the Antarctic ice. The researchers discovered a bizarre and deadly life form dubbed Organism 46b, a highly intelligent octopus-like creature that claimed the lives of 3 of the team members. But the government of Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed that nothing of scientific interest was found because the former KGB strongman hopes to weaponize the organism.
Most peaceful place in the world, but I don't think it will be for long because of this intense interest on the part of other nations and this nation.
Is the route of an escape in Antarctica.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Go to Clint in Kansas. Clint, hi, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde Lewis. How you doing?
Been great, man.
I got a question for you. I was wanting to know, how is everybody coming up with the idea that Nazis made it down to the Arctic?
To the Antarctic?
Yes.
Because there were U-boats and investigations. Richard Byrd, of course, Admiral Byrd, investigated, said that there were encampments down there, that they escaped down there, and thousands of Nazis left Germany. Some of them joined up with the CIA with Operation Paperclip or Project Paperclip, and the others escaped to Argentina. They were they're actually the rat-lined Argentina and Chile and South America, and some even went to Antarctica. Good place to hide out.
Okay, I could see that'd be possible. But what about the other stuff, like the Planet X and all that other stuff? I mean, that's just crazy. Like, some of these people are really good drugs or what?
No, it's not crazy. There is a Planet X. Did you hear that they announced there was?
I mean, it's all theories and everything else. They said there's a Planet X.
No, Caltech, the same guy that basically told us that Pluto wasn't a planet anymore, basically said that they found that there is a Planet X, that there is perturbations within the solar system that demonstrate that there's a force that's pushing towards us that would mean that there's a planet out there in a very, very high elliptical orbit. Okay. They call it actually Planet 9.
Planet 9?
Well, yeah, they call it Planet 9, but they call it the real ninth planet. And it was discovered actually about a year ago this January. It was discovered.
Okay. And then another thing is, I want to know, where do you get your people for your shows? I mean, some of these people are coming up with some crazy stuff, like the telepathic.
The what?
Stuff.
What stuff?
The telepathic stuff. Like telepathic, like they can read people's minds and from way over.
I don't ever have people on my show that read people's minds. What show are you listening to? It's the wrong show. I don't have people on my show that read people's minds.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm mistaken then.
Yeah, you are. I mean, when was the last time? I don't even recall having a show where I had people on that read people's minds.
I don't know. I'm probably thinking of a different show. Maybe, I don't know.
Probably Coast to Coast AM. Coast to Coast AM.
Coast to Coast.
Yeah, they have people on like that. I know. Most of the people I have are credible. They're very credible people. I don't know. And I'm sure many people that George has on his show are very credible. But, I mean, there are some people that have a lot of crazy ideas and weird ideas. But you know what? A lot of weird ideas, just because you don't know about what they're talking about, doesn't mean they're crazy.
Okay. But, yeah, that's all I want to know. Is this kind of far out there kind of stuff. It's kind of weird for all these people.
Well, okay. But, I mean, what do you think's going on in Antarctica? I mean, why would we have all these dignitaries?
I mean, it could be secret military operation. That's what's my.
But they can't have a military operation down there. It's against the treaty.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff the U.S. government does that's against the treaty, but they do it.
Well, I mean, if they ever get caught doing it, I'm sure that there would be a crisis that they'd have to deal with. I mean, it's been kept pretty peaceful, and most of the military things that go on down there are not warlike. They're there for science reasons. That's what they say.
I mean, that's what they say. I mean, they say a lot of stuff. I mean, like, for example, Hillary Clinton, she didn't delete those emails, but we all know better than that.
Well, I mean, I there hasn't been anything that I know of that sparked a war from Antarctica. I know the Falklands had a war with Argentina, but as far as anything happening out of there that'd be warlike, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're good at. They keep stuff hush-hush.
Yeah, well, you're right. If they kept a secret, then they're keeping a pretty damn good secret, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Clint, thank you for the call. Let's go down to Pete in Idaho. Hi, Pete. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi, Clyde.
How you doing, man?
Wonderful show. I've been a fan for a long time.
Thank you.
And this subject of Antarctica has fascinated me for years. Right. I remember when our scientists were there and they were drilling into the ice and they started getting sick. And I seem to remember that they weren't all being shipped out for the same reason. Like one of them broke his arm. Someone got sick. Another person, a woman, had something to do with breast cancer, which is a weird reason to ship somebody for an emergency, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember thinking that this is, something's going on, and they're not telling us. And I remember shortly after that, I think I was listening to Coast at the time, when someone called in and said that they saw a bunch of military vehicles more or less take over those scientific sites. And there was, the U.S. had one. They were drilling, and I believe they were drilling towards a magnetic anomaly under the ice. And there was a Russian facility that was also drilling. That's what I remember. Does that coincide with what?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of stories about that. Exactly, that there were magnetic anomalies that were seen and they were detected, and they were trying to figure out, what was going on. There were a few earthquakes. They had to evacuate people out of there, and it was a drilling operation. They were drilling for something, and also the excavating operation that was going on for something that looked like a machine that was reported sighted by a satellite, and the European Parliament got wind of it and said, well, if that's something military, they're in violation of the treaty. Well, the government kept a lid on it. The U.S. military kept a lid on it. They went in and they excavated it, and there was an earthquake afterwards. And still, what's that?
I remember seeing those Google pictures of that thing poking up out of the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like a wall or a giant wing or something. It was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything, I don't know if you can still see it from Google Earth. You wouldn't happen to have the coordinates for it, would you?
Actually, someone sent me the coordinates, and I'm trying to, He said that he was looking at it. Where are the coordinates? Oh, my gosh.
And he said it was blacked out or blurred over.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I can't remember where it was. Oh, it was on Facebook. I think they sent me the coordinates on Facebook, and I tried to look them up, and they said that it was that it did get blacked out or blurred out. And
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but they said that they took pictures, I guess, of some vehicles that were leaving that blocked area. So whatever was there, they didn't want you seeing it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I do remember seeing those pictures. There was like 5 or 6 vehicles traveling in a line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was told.
Then
here we go. I got it. Here we go. Longitude, 89 degrees, 58 minutes, 22 seconds, and longitude, 72 degrees, 22 minutes, 31 seconds.
89, 52.
89, 58, 22.
58, 22.
Yeah, and then 72, 22, 31.
72, 22, 31. Great.
All right. There you go.
Okay. Oh, and about that lake they were drilling into, I hadn't heard anything since right before they broke through. I heard I take that back. I did hear a little bit that they found some kind of
creature
life.
Yeah. They found something,
a creature.
An octopus. It was like an octopus, they said, and it was a strange octopus. About three guys, I guess, were attacked and killed in their group. But yeah, it was an octopus-like creature. It was huge, of course. It was like, Cthulhu-sized, I guess.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, it's very interesting that all of these world leaders seem to be going over there, and for whatever reason, I tend to think that it's whatever reason it is, it has to be for something that they can't go anywhere else to do.
Right.
Because otherwise, they wouldn't have to go down there. Now, like for instance, it wouldn't be to see the creature because they could take a picture of the creature and show it to them, or to confirm a killer virus or whatever. It wouldn't be something like that. It has to be something that would be a meeting.
But maybe the meeting is to talk about what do we do with this? How do we tell the people? What do we say? I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, the whole idea that, our history has been altered, really makes a lot of sense, especially looking back at all the stuff that's been suppressed by everybody, every government. Our history is definitely different than what we've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to think that whatever they found down under the ice is so far out of our league that is why this tree has lasted so long. It's the longest lasting tree in the history of the planet.
35 years.
Yeah.
They've now made it 35
so whatever's
years.
Down there has scared everybody so much that they don't dare do anything.
Right.
It's pretty fascinating with this Planet X stuff and, Zachariah Sitchin's information. I kind of tend to believe the ancient Sumerian text.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something to it. And if that's true, then maybe they are meeting someone from Planet X down there. That wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with who Karen Hudis is?
No, I'm not.
She is a lawyer she is a lawyer with the World Bank. And she has been exposing corruption within that system.
Uh-huh.
And she talks about people that are in control that aren't human. And she talks about the elongated heads. And who knows, maybe these people from Planet X or Nibiru or whatever, maybe those are the same beings.
Well, they talk about the tall whites. They talk about, there have been so many things that have been talked about this year. It makes you wonder just who's in control and whether or not there's a synarchy involved. I would say some pretty amazing things going on that we don't know about. And Antarctica just, once again, has made the list of something this year for sure. Pete, I'm out of time, but I appreciate you calling in tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. 888-673-3700. 888-673-3700. More to come. Keep it here.
FM News 101 KXL. More with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
Going to go to Rob in Washington. Hi, Rob. You're on Ground Zero.
Good evening, Clyde. I was going to say, here's a quick, let me get you off Bluetooth real quick. So here's a quick theory. If you think about it, it's kind of weird. What if, that Antarctica was the ice shelf that used to be on Mars, and whatever beings decided to move it from there, and it came to Earth, and the water, brought the Earth, everything into the water and the shelf to Earth, and now they're going down there trying to talk about moving it from the Earth.
Mm-hmm. So well, they're saying there's a lot of stuff in Antarctica that they find there that is from Mars. Believe it or not, they a lot of rocks and a lot of the things they find there for some reason in Antarctica are actually from Mars, which I think is interesting, as you point out.
Right. So that's probably where they're all trying to go down there and trying to talk all these whatever beings they are out of not taking the shelf out, so that way we don't lose all our water and we end up dying.
Now, what's that again?
I said maybe that's what they're doing. They're all going down there and trying to talk whatever beings these are from not taking the shelf out, because then we lose all the water and then we end up dying.
Well, and that's what I think. There have been a lot of emails tonight that have said that what they think is happening is a delegation. That a delegation of, these are the ones we know about. There have probably been others that have gone down there that have had secret meetings down there. And the news media has not reported, and a lot of people are unaware that this is happening. So what we have is we have an interesting dilemma as to whether or not we're seeing a contact or a delegation for contact, preparing for contact, or something else entirely that, like I demonstrated earlier about our health and whether or not they've discovered something lethal down there that got loose. Who knows?
Well, I always love the show. I listen to it when I'm not here. I listen to it on the call-in number, the 712 number, and I keep up the good work, my friend.
All right, take care. Thank you so much for calling tonight. It's another Ground Zero tonight. Thank you for being a part of it. We'll be here tomorrow night. It's going to be a special Krampus ghost show. So we're going to do our best to entertain you there. We're hoping that'll be great. We're going to prepare for that Krampus party that'll be at Renner's Barn Grill, and we want you to be there because it's going to be a lot of fun. Just for the food, the fun, the company, it's going to be well worth it. A lot of people there, get to know new people. Just a fun place to be. Renner's Barn Grill in Multnomah Village. We'll tell you more about that coming up tomorrow night on Ground Zero. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Drive safely tonight if you have to get around. Chances are you won't be getting around because it's an ice sheet out there. Nothing like Antarctica, but still, it's an ice sheet. And be very careful, be very safe. See you tomorrow night.